Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey folks, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. We have special guest Morgan Wentworth returning for the third time to our podcast. Right off the bat, let me apologize for the video portion of this podcast. Although it does exist, we had some horrible difficulties with the webcam. After it was all recorded, I looked at the webcam in the finished product, and it was like there's this huge black bar like cutting off all of our faces. So unfortunately, no webcam, but we'll definitely still have a video for this podcast, just like you can see what we're seeing on the computer screen and stuff like that. So I do apologize. I really wish that that could have come together. I guess it was some sort of update problem. I'm not even sure if the problem's been resolved yet, so I really hope that it has. I want to remind you, the Mortarpod is brought to you by SeemsGoodMagic.com. It's a website I created a year and a half ago. I've been putting up tons of magic content since then. I've heard a lot of positive feedback from people. I've gotten a lot of fan-submitted content. So it's been wonderful. It's been an amazing experience. I really appreciate you guys getting involved, building this magic community. That was kind of my goal. It's been my sort of dream, and it's coming together. So I really appreciate you guys that tune in and listen and give constructive criticism and feedback and stuff like that. I appreciate it. It's also brought to you by Verenkamp.com. That's VEHRENKAMP.com. Scott Verenkamp created SeemsGoodMagic.com. He did the design work for it, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. So check out his website, Verenkamp.com. I think you'll dig his work. If you want to reach me, Mortarpod at SeemsGoodMagic.com. I'm very receptive to your feedback, so feel free to message me with anything. Follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. When we live stream, I like to tweet about it so people know when. Typically, it's just Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time, and occasionally we'll do a special, live stream. But follow us on Twitter for any other information that you want to know about with us. Still been updating my blog as often as possible. In this episode today, we discuss M14. Morgan actually has more experience than both Jake and I in M14 since she actually did a pre-release event. She also has more Modern Masters experience than we do, so it's kind of cool to get her feedback on it. Talk about some Commander as well, and we do a Return to Ravnica block draft. So once again, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. You're the reason that I'm doing this entire project, so I appreciate it. And enjoy this week's episode. Morgan.
Hi.
Thanks for coming back.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. We haven't had a guest in a while,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm glad you could come back and join us again. I like that you texted me and you asked what you should be prepared to talk about. You obviously don't know this podcast too well. We like to just wing it around here. Now, I guess we prep a little bit.
Yeah, you wing it in a general direction. And
Definitely.
I want to know the general direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, what did I tell you? I told you we're going to talk about some M14, maybe some Commander.
Standard, Modern Masters, everything under the sun.
Mm-hmm. And actually, the funny thing is, Morgan, I think, Morgan, you've got more experience with M14 now if you actually did a pre-release. And you did Modern Masters a little bit too, right?
Okay.
All right, so why don't you talk about either of those? Maybe M14 first because it's absolutely fresh and the pre-release are still going on this weekend.
Okay, M14, I did the midnight pre-release, and that probably wasn't like a super good idea. If you guys don't know, the way that your body is like feeling right now affects your Magic game a lot, which is why like I don't drink energy drinks or something when I'm playing. But I was also very tired, so my game suffered. But I played green-red with like the 4/4 for 4, 2 of those. And
what color was he in?
He's green.
Okay.
And then 2 shocks. Those are what put me in my colors, basically. And then
that's all it took, huh?
Yeah, and then I played like slivers. I had the Megantic sliver, which like it's not the magnetic one.
Nice. No,
Yeah,
the one that makes them huge. Yeah.
The 6/6 for 6, and then 2 of the 7-drop trampling slivers.
Wow.
Wait, what's the 7? I didn't even see that one. That one sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's like a 5/5, and I never lived the dream of having both of them out at once. But those and a couple of other slivers, and then I pulled a Mutavault.
Oh, nice.
So I had the whole like sliver sub theme going on.
Yeah.
I didn't get any white slivers, which is kind of disappointing, but I did splash white with Verdant Haven to play 2 Pacifisms and a Seraph of the Sword.
That was a good idea. Pacifism's awesome.
Yeah, Pacifism did work. I top decked it when it was really like relevant.
Uh-huh.
And then one card that really stood out for me is a red sorcery. It's red and 1 colorless called Seismic Stomp.
Yes.
And there were some crazy board states
Nice, yeah.
yesterday. Like me and other people, there was completely ground like locked up, and Seismic Stomp really helped me get through that last bit of damage that I needed. I saw one game where both people were like completely locked up because there's no overrun effects in M14. So they were both completely locked up. All they could do was just like play their land and pass turn, and there were 3 cards in each of their libraries, and one person was at 75 life. And Seismic Stomp would have been really helpful in that situation. So
how do you get to 75 life?
Because they had the Primeval Bounty, the enchantment, where every time you play a land, you gain life.
But don't you only gain 3?
Yeah, there was other things there too. But he was definitely in the 70s for life. So yeah, Seismic Stomp was really kind of like a surprise from the board All-Star. Another one, there's a red 3-drop. It's a 1/1 with Intimidate.
Oh yeah, the new sort of like looter effect in red.
Like an Ophidian.
So
we were talking about that guy. I kind of like him. I like that. I like that direction they went with it.
Yeah, so there are points where I didn't have the 2nd green mana for Colonian Tusker on turn 4, so I just discard it and draw a relevant spell like Pacifism or something.
I can't find him. What's his name?
He's up at the top. Academy something.
Looter or something.
Infiltrator, I don't know. Looter, probably, right?
Academy Raider. And his Intimidate was actually pretty relevant.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't playing anybody who, for one, either played red creatures or was like blocking with red creatures. They were attacking with them. So I really liked that a lot. And I didn't play him game 1, but game 2 on, he was in my main board.
Red Intimidate is pretty excellent, actually. Blade Tusk Boar.
They really pushed
really good red limited card that was highly played, highly picked too.
There's also the 6-drop 3/4 Intimidate.
Oh really? And where's he at?
Tyrant.
Oh cool.
So they're pushing red to have
Intimidate a little bit,
Oh.
yeah. And then can't block, so he's not a very good blocker, but so he's definitely meant to be your little getting in there every turn.
And a fun little combo I had going was Ogre Battle Driver. It's a rare.
Oh, we know him for sure. He's awesome.
I play Warstorm Surge in EDH, and this is basically Warstorm Surge on a stick, and I love it. And I played him, and then Spore Mound, which is a 5-drop 3/3 in green. That whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 green.
So you're really getting a 3/1 hasty green sapperling? That's kind of cool.
I love it. It was awesome, and I had a lot of fun with it.
The Battle Driver's sick. That's pretty cool that you got him. I think that guy's really good.
Yeah.
So, how'd you do overall?
I went 2-2. Like I said, I was really tired. I threw away match 1 by keeping a couple of bad hands, and then I lost to one of the better players, Dustin, my 4th match. So
I see.
So I feel all right about my performance, and I'm hoping to kind of redeem myself today.
Oh yeah, you're doing it again. That's cool. I like it. It's some tenacious M14 playing.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be online, I believe, until another 10 days. So we've got 10 more days without it online. But they have gotten better at the release date, real life to release date online. It's usually about a week worth of difference. In this case, it's even less than that, right? Because like a week from now is when they're doing the actual release. So it's going to be the 21st. And then the 24th is when they're releasing it online. So they've actually gotten much better at tightening that gap up a little bit. Let's briefly talk. Jake was saying before we started the podcast, he's like, I'm getting real sick of these talking about the spoilers on here. It's like, I think people are getting sick of it. It's like, let's just let's just talk about the exciting ones then. So I don't think that we talked about that gnawing zombie. I thought he was kind of cool. I like the idea of him. If he's the card I'm thinking of. Yeah, he is. Okay. So gnawing zombie's 1 in a black, 1/3, which is kind of a weird power toughness for black in general. They did have that Bane Alley black card, I guess, in Dragon's Maze. But yeah, maybe. I feel like before that, had you ever really seen it? It was maritime guard
when
power toughness.
Bane Alley Blackguard came out, I was like,
why are they?
Why? Yeah, like
seems pretty strange.
Just make it a 2/1, please.
But this is definitely unusual for a zombie. 1 in a black, 1/3, 1 in a black, sack a creature, target player loses a life, and you gain 1 life, which is almost like the new. It's almost like the new black ability. Don't you feel like ever since they printed
Blood Artist
or Falcon Wrath Noble or
No.
No. Is it?
Yeah, it's Noble.
That's the hasty one. Noble's the one that
little 2/2 flyer for 4. Yeah. But yeah, they brought that ability in black, and now I feel like we see it on quite a few cards. Besides Blood Artist and Falcon Wrath Noble, I feel like there's. I mean, historic. It's straight up extort. So, you know.
Before extort, actually.
After extort.
I mean, they've actually. I feel like they've had it for a little while.
Before.
Well, this creature is dying.
And extorts in white too. It almost feels. I'm trying to think of other cards in white that had it. I guess Suture Priest did it, kind of, for only creatures. They lose 1, but it always the life loss in white always kind of, I guess, does kind of not always, but it does kind of bug me a little bit.
Well, those are Phyrexian though.
Yeah, they're like niche cases that are specifically there to show
white gone bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get behind extort feeling like I can get behind extort feeling like a black and white ability, but it doesn't feel like you should be able to do it in like straight up white, which you can.
Yeah.
So, I guess that was my only issue with it, but it definitely is an awesome black-white mechanic flavorfully.
Yeah.
It feels correct.
But I wouldn't think that Evolve would be a mono-blue mechanic either. You know, but it works when you're thinking of it in the context of Simic.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. There's been like fatty blue creatures for a while, but you don't really think about blue creatures growing, so I guess I understand.
Like, it's the fish deck, I suppose, where you want to play aggro, but the Simic is like this on turn 1, this on turn 2, this on turn 3, and like just creature,
yeah.
You know,
steadily
like, that's
getting
their
bigger.
Strategy, and that's not a blue strategy necessarily.
So Gnawing Zombie, I was saying, is pretty cool because we've still got Gravecrawler at least till October. So there's a little built-in sort of engine you have access to, and it's sack any creature.
Yeah. I don't like that it's in Avacyn Restored.
I wish they'd made it 1 mana to sack the creature. Making it 2 made it a little bit too clunky.
3 mana for get your Gravecrawler back and sack it. Like,
that's not like a.
It's not huge, but it's definitely not something you want to just see easily done, especially with Blood Artist around.
Well, what it really tells me is this isn't going to happen. Gnawing Zombie's not going to happen. He's cool. He's definitely going to be awesome and limited. I don't think he's got the potential to make it to constructed.
I think there's a lot of reach available with him. You know.
It's definitely going to take some people by surprise.
Yeah.
Like an like an FNM or something.
Yeah. Messenger with him is good too.
Just, you know, things dying, that seems good, you know?
We'll see. I don't think he's going to see play. He's going to be good and limited, though. Gnawing Zombie's going to be very good and limited. It's always nice to have a sack engine. Are there active treason effects in this set? What do we got? Active treason. Anything else? Or is that the... This is like their... This is the old go-to one now, isn't it?
Well, it's very simple.
I think we talked about how there's like 1 million in Standard right now, too. Because you've got Traitorous Blood, you have Traitorous Instinct,
Mark of Mutiny,
Zealous Conscripts, you've got Smelt Word Gatekeepers, or whatever. I know that one's a little harder to activate, but...
Well, then on that, Molten Primordial.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's expensive, but you can still got the same thing. That's a lot of steel creature effects in Standard. That's probably more than we've seen in a while, I would think.
It's pretty common for red, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. But Act is the old go-to one. What's your favorite version of that that's in Standard right now? Or I guess historically?
I think I like Traitorous Instincts the most. Blood is good. Traitorous Blood is very good. But I think I like Instincts the most. Because it offers additional power.
I like Mark of Mutiny because of its use as like a finisher.
And it's still like maintain a more reasonable cost.
Yeah, and also Zealous Conscripts, the fact that it comes in with a 3/3 hasty body as well.
Yeah, and that one's even more over the top because it's impermanent.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, your Planeswalker's at ultimate.
Yeah. Oh,
don't mind if I do.
There's the split card that does that too.
Catch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, even more stealing effects. In blue this time.
Catch is crazy.
And that one's actually kind of funny because it's almost like a...
Is that only sorcery, though? I think it is.
Wait, which card?
Catch. Because release has to be a sorcery, yeah.
But this is kind of funny because it's like an old blue card. No, not that one. What's the one that... Ray of Command. Where a blue active treason effect, which... At this point, they've changed it to straight up. They just take creatures now. They don't like blue, take them briefly.
Blue should be the long-term planning color, and red should be the here and now color. So that's why this is shifted to red, and full control is shifted to blue.
So they said it's an instant though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it was a combat trick too.
Well,
it was
like,
straight up
oh no, you're attacking me with 2 big guys.
Whoop!
Or even you're attacking me with your huge dude. Well, thank God he left that Death Touch guy back to defend. Yeah. Don't mind if I do. Do a nice little trade there. So this card, I'm sure, was brutal and limited. What was I going to talk about? There was another card here. Domestication at rare. We talked about that a little bit earlier. This is sad. All right, so Domestication is a 4-mana aura, and it's what we just talked about. It's a blue...
it's control magic.
Yeah, it's essentially control magic. At the beginning of your end step, if enchanted creature's power is 4 or greater, sacrifice Domestication. Now, the saddest part about this card, they put it at rare. Formerly uncommon in Rise of Eldrazi, now rare, which is it's 1 mana cheaper than Mind Control, and Mind Control let you do like anything.
I feel like they wouldn't have made it rare if it wasn't a huge problem in limited, and like that's gotta be what it is.
For me, that tells me you shouldn't even put it in. Don't put it in the core set then.
But they probably also needed a blue rare anyway, and they needed a control magic effect.
Seems like a cop-out to me.
It's all about set economy.
I'm going to be sad when I open my M14 packs and get, oh my god, I got a foil domestication pack.
Well, if you look at like the creatures with the power of 3, like
there's plenty to get on.
Archangel of Thune is 3 power. So
I'm definitely saying it's a good card in limited. Absolutely agree with you guys there. I'm just saying I hate it when there's like total turd rare. Yeah. In this case being one that was formerly an uncommon like 2 years ago.
But it just might not be an uncommon in this set. Like the way that it was in Eldrazi, it was definitely an uncommon because
it's just making me less excited to open these packs.
I'm trying to think of there were so many creatures with just power 4 or greater.
I think it's gonna be great in limited. Yeah, you're right. In Eldrazi, it was like
and with level up creatures.
It was actually pretty bad in limited.
It was pretty bad.
It was in Eldrazi. It was pretty bad. But I mean, the whole point was you're playing 8/8s and you're cheating them out on turn like 4 and 5. We talked about this card formerly, but I kind of want to talk about it again because this one is actually one I could maybe see.
I see it
reaching constructed
playable,
because
but not necessarily like amazing card. Just
maybe like playable. A one of.
Yeah.
Only because I could see control getting some use out of this, but it's going to be difficult for control to really, I guess, need this. I don't know if it's more of like you can see why it would be a good control card. It's a 4-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+4. And then it's got a 0 activate ability. Until end of turn, it becomes a 4/4 spirit artifact creature, which is a weird creature type in itself. How can an artifact creature be?
Because it's armor.
It's inside of the armor. Inside it. Okay. That's no longer an equipment. Activate this ability only if you control no creature. So
we're talking about Haunted Plate Mail, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry if I didn't say the name. And it equips for 4. So obviously you see the use of it. You can make a creature fatter. You can also wipe the board and suddenly before your combat step, and then you can still attack with your 4/4. So it is cool. Serves much the same purpose the original Gideon did, which is annoy the crap out of your non-control playing opponent.
It blocks and avoids sorcery speed removal pre-combat.
but it eats 2 blades.
Oh my
away.
god, I'm just thinking of Gideon again those days. Or it's like,
Yeah.
attack Gideon? Okay, he goes to 2. You know, Wrath of God. Attack for whatever, 6.
Attack for 6, yeah.
So obnoxious.
Doop doop. And like, I just have my loyalty, or 2 loyalty counter Gideon over here.
And I prevented all the damage you did to me
Yeah.
because you attacked him. And now he's getting bigger again.
Old Gideon.
So much
We
better.
miss you.
And they're like, well, we don't want to put confusing stuff in core sets, so we'll just put the Gideon, you know, the Planeswalker creature. We'll put
Yeah.
that in a core set. That's not confusing at all. Do you think the new Gideon's more intuitive for new players than the old one was?
I think that basing its power and toughness on its loyalty counters makes more sense than making
Just
it
a
Yeah.
static
6/6,
6/6. Yeah.
because 6/6
Is a really high power toughness.
and for a 5-drop white is
Mhm.
like crazy that you can't even hit with anything sorcery speed.
Mm-hmm.
But the new Gideon's also harder to get rid of.
Because he's actually straight up indestructible.
Yep, but he can be turned a bird.
I
You
don't
can.
even like the indestructible thing. I mean, that's cool. But I was actually fine with the fact that Gideon could be removed with creature removal when he became a creature. It was like a really good way to keep him fair, you know?
Well, like, speaking as somebody who wanted to get rid of the old Gideon, but wants to play the new Gideon, I'm completely okay with him being indestructible.
Yeah, I want to play the new Gideon too, and he does suck right now because
He's awesome unlimited.
Yeah.
We've actually gotten a chance to try him a couple of times. He really takes the game over
yeah, he
unlimited.
does. I got him on Wednesday in the draft at the store. Actually, it was my opening pack,
Nice.
and I was like, So I went Boros, and
Tell me you live the dream.
well, I never got his ultimate off, but just like threatening it, even when you're like so close to death that it's not possible that you can get it off, scares them so much that they start attacking him, and it just like it
Yeah.
ruins the game for them because
They have to change their entire
they
strategy
totally
to,
have to change.
I have to
Yeah.
take out goods.
or at least keep him like
Iteration,
sufficiently
yeah.
neutered. Because like I got him to 10, and then I was like, oh, you're not gonna attack him. Okay, well, I'll activate him and I'll attack you with
For
him.
10,
and
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen to me if I don't attack
You
him.
almost forget that you have to keep them in check,
Yeah.
or at least you have to leave chump blockers back.
Yeah.
Which actually isn't the worst, because then at least
No,
you can
no.
chump block, and then he gets less off his plus ability.
As good as his ultimate is, it's his 0 ability after activating his plus a few times that really put him over the edge.
But I think what people don't realize about Gideon's ultimate, and this is what I got off against Tyler, that was just ridiculous.
It leaves him out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got Gideon to the point where he was going to survive his own ultimate, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is I had like 5 cards in hand, and you're at that point in the game when you finally have Gideon ultimate, you may have like 7 or 8 lands out or something.
Mhm.
So then you just tap out, use Gideon ultimate, and you
and
play like 3 spells,
spells
combat.
and a land, and then a land, and it's like, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I have, my fully developed board after I just wiped everything, and I have 3 creatures, and one was like a Knight of Obligation or something even more obnoxious. Not that I was going to be extorting, but it was just like, I had that he had to worry about for even after that, plus you keep the Gideon,
Mm-hmm.
so you still have him building up again. Basically, Gideon Ultimate is ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Destroy all other,
Oh, exile.
exile all other permanents.
It's even better.
Yeah.
It really is. Any other new, exciting core set cards? What was do you know some of the last ones to be spoiled? I want to talk about any cool ones that we don't already know about.
I didn't hear about this one, the Instant Speed Black Grim Return or something.
We talked about that one a little bit, but I actually kind of like the idea of it. It's like it's gonna be the new type of red spell.
Yep. And if you look at Liturgy of Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Liturgy
Oh, it
of
works
Blood.
perfectly together.
Yeah.
Destroy target creature, add 3 to your mana pool. Oh yeah, you're right. It does actually work.
And it can be, and I had both of those cards in my pool, but no other good black cards. But
So Liturgy of Blood's 5 mana sorcery, destroy target creature, add 3 black to your mana pool, and Grim Return is 3 mana instant. Choose target creature card in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. So they've come a long way with res spells. Let me put it that way. Res spells originally, with cards like Animate Dead, which currently have the most atrocious errated language Oracle texts I've probably ever seen. They should be ashamed of themselves, especially since it's like,
What could they have
it's
done?
an essay.
they needed a print.
What could they have done?
They
to
almost
make
need
that
to
better?
they almost need to print a new Animate Dead something that's supposed to be like Animate Dead, and then immediately ban it in every format.
Animate Dead doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know what they should do, but the way
Animate Dead is fine and it works. It's actually intuitive.
I gotta read it for you now because it's this obnoxious. So Animate Dead.
He's like obsessed, by the way.
1 in a black, enchant creature card in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature put onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. So they had to make it to
the most important part.
Enchant creature gets -1/-0.
Yes.
That it gets like they thought. I love that they thought. I was like, wait a second. Let's make its power weaker, and then it won't be as big a deal when they bring back their 12s or whatever.
If you got brought back from the dead, you would be a little bit like.
I don't know. I actually thought zombies were stronger, right? Because they can like tear your arms off and stuff. You know. I guess those are only the Romero zombies, not the Can the magic zombies not tear your limbs from your body easily?
I'm sure they can, but like it's all about the swarm with zombies anyway. Like it's not necessarily about any one individual zombie being super powerful, unless it's like the quest for the Gravelord token or something like that. But
if you didn't catch, like, when I was reading that, if you didn't quite understand what's going on, it's because Animate Dead has to target a creature card in a graveyard, and because of that, it can't be an aura. So it has to change.
It can be. It just also returns that creature to the battlefield, which makes it no longer a legal target for the aura. So that's why it has to give itself a new enchant.
Has to change the essence of what kind of aura it is.
Yeah.
Originally, it's an aura that enchants creature cards in a graveyard. Then when it's on the battlefield, it enchants creature card that was put onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. So it's kind of a mess that they originally didn't even think about. Any creature, the original wording is any creature in either player's graveyard comes into play on your side with, I love this, -1 to its original power. God, I love looking at old cards. So badly worded too. If this enchantment is removed or at end of game, I love that they had to specify.
You have to give it back.
Yeah.
Or at end of game, target creature is returned to its owner's graveyard. Target creature may be. I love that. If they didn't put that, I wonder if during playtesting of the original set, someone was like, "Do I get to keep this now?
Do I get to keep this forever?" Well, it's because Ante was a part of your game.
Yeah, which is also a really funny aspect of historic Magic. So all the Planeswalkers they're bringing back. Why don't we just quickly run through all the ones they're bringing back? They're doing the last Ajani that was printed. So Ajani, Caller of the Pride, 3 mana, 4 loyalty, +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, -3. Target creature gains flying and double strike until end of turn, -8, put X 2/2 white cat creature tokens on the battlefield where X is your life total.
It's a guy.
They're doing Jace Memory Adapt, which is the milling Jace, who's been around for a while. They're bringing back Liliana of the Dark Realms, which kind of sucks because I don't like her, but it's okay.
They nerfed her so hard.
Chandra Pyromaster, we talked about her last time, the new one, and then they're doing the new Garruk. So the 2 new Planeswalkers, Garruk and Chandra, and then the rest are reprints. Which one of these Planeswalkers are we most excited about, would you say? And it can be an old one, too. Which one is the most powerful, in your opinion, in the core set? Yeah.
Probably Jace. Maybe a Johnny.
I like Garruk. I mean...
New Garruk's
good.
New Garruk's interesting. So he's a 6-drop. He's we talked about it on the last podcast, but it doesn't really matter.
No.
People don't mind if we repeat ourselves a little bit here.
The way that they did him as a Garruk.
So
problem.
He's a 6 mana, 4 loyalty Garruk, and he's +1. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand. The rest on the bottom of your library in any order. -3. Put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. -7. You get an emblem with whenever you cast a creature spell. Search your library for a creature card, put it on the battlefield, shuffle your library.
The -3 ability feels like a Garruk ability to me, but the +1, and even like any of these abilities put on a Garruk card by themselves would make me feel like it was a Garruk ability. But the fact that they're all thrown on it at once makes me feel like this shouldn't be a Garruk card.
Well, Jake and I talked about a fix we came up with where it would satisfy probably both of us. The -3 should be you may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you don't, put a 3/3 beast out or something.
Yeah.
That
So
makes sense.
so he should have like generated some. He shouldn't have punished you if you didn't have a green
Yeah.
creature card.
Yeah.
You want to be
Exactly.
able to protect him a little bit.
I mean, he's
You're
a
paying
6
6
mana. For
mana.
God's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
So he's pricey, but once again, this is like where we have to remind ourselves: new generation of planeswalkers. They're dialing them back. They don't want to make them like way too excessive, and
they want to make these planeswalkers where you play 1, maybe 2 planeswalkers in your deck for
Mhm.
like for constructed.
it's
but
not
you
meant to
don't
be
play-
like I win the game now. It's
Or
not
you don't
supposed to be-
go a Johnny Vengeance, Elspeth,
Yeah.
and then Jace, and now like what are you gonna do? Like which one are you gonna take out? Or Wall of Denial. Like,
It did get to the
so
point.
fucking stupid.
I mean, it did get to the point where there was like, I've got Jace, I've got my Jace Mind Sculptor, I've got my Gideon. Now I win.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get through this before you can affect this.
Well, and that was like the big problem. It was like
Too
there were
good.
2
Planeswalkers
steps
that
to
were
go
too
through,
good.
and Elspeth too. She was like
Keep constantly
the same, growing and protecting herself
or getting
in
in
multiple ways. Yeah.
Once you had developed a better board state, it's like, oh,
or
okay,
Day of
I'll just-
Judgment and then swing or whatever. Swing
I'll-
and then day.
yeah, I'm gonna pump my 1/1 soldier now and just get in. I'm gonna 4 you every turn while my Elspeth's getting bigger. So while I'm actively working into your life total, you still have to focus on my constantly growing Elspeth.
I think Nissa Vervain was a good fix to having a planeswalker with 2 pumps. You know.
Was she double pump too? That's
Yeah.
right. Gain the life for the
But
elves.
She started with 2.
Nissa was a cool one, and she didn't see much play by the end, but it was
People
one that
hated
actually
on her hard, but
affected cards from your library.
Yeah, she worked really well, and people hated her hard. It was because her ultimate was bad. Like
What
her
was her?
ultimate,
Oh, search for any number of elf cards.
elves, and put them out. And
It
it's
was
like,
cool. It made sense.
Yeah,
It's not like
the best thing ever, and not what you want to play in standard. But like both of her plus abilities were both relevant in standard.
Yeah. I mean, when the elf deck was around for a little bit, I think there was
Eldrazi.
the Eldrazi Monument deck where they could just keep renewing it with Chosen
and
every
now
turn.
I get Chosen every turn. Yeah.
And Chosen was just literally like an Elvish Warrior with the additional text to relate itself to make it playable with Nissa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other cool cards? What's this Blood Baron? I wrote it down because I didn't quite recognize it. Is it a new card?
Oh, Blood Baron. It's the new sack and get +2/+2 creature.
So it's basically
and Tuco Husk
Blood Throne, Vampire as well.
yeah, but there was a 3-drop one.
Yeah, Vampire Aristocrat.
Vampire Aristocrat. See, I always confuse that with Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. So much nobility in the vampire hierarchy.
Vampires are totally noble.
So this one, it's interesting that it sacrifices another creature.
Oh yeah, that is
Did
right.
you read about that change though?
No.
They wanted to bring it in line where you can sacrifice something, but if it generates an effect that doesn't do anything when it's gone, it won't sacrifice itself. So like creatures that pump themselves or gain protection for themselves can't ever sacrifice themselves anymore.
Yeah.
At this point,
I see what you're saying. So what? I don't think I understood this as well last time. But what you're saying is, if Blood Baron were to be able to sacrifice himself, he would generate an effect on the stack that would say gets +2/+2 until in a turn, but nothing would happen because
Right.
Blood Baron's left the battlefield. So they're trying to just get rid of that, where it's like stuff can go on the stack that isn't
it's
actually
trying to
doing anything.
get rid of stuff that doesn't make sense. You know, that flavorfully doesn't make sense. Why when you're a vampire and the theme of you is that you hunt and kill people and suck their blood presumably and get stronger, is it that you can suck your own blood and become stronger when you're dead?
They're making it cleaner for new players.
And the
too.
same with Cartel Aristocrat, you know, but like I think
is Cartel other? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, and I think Maw of the Obsidian, you can sacrifice itself because it generates an effect.
Yeah, regardless of whether it's still on the battlefield or not.
So, like, this is the way they're going to do it if the effect actually matters when you do it.
I see.
And then if you won't benefit from the effect if you sacrifice the creature, then you won't.
Then they're trying to get rid of that.
Then
I
they
see.
will sacrifice another creature only.
Let's briefly talk about. All right, so Jake and I mentioned this last time. Look how cool! Look how cool we are, Jake.
Yeah.
We called it. So we looked at Banisher Priest and we saw that it was different than the Oblivion Ring, but we were kind of curious how they were exactly going to word it. And I can briefly Well, it's a new rules change. So basically, it is like what we thought it was going to be. It's just a. Let's read the most important aspect of this big thing here. It says it's no longer on the stack somewhere. The one-shot effect that returns it to the battlefield doesn't use the stack. So what that means is when Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield, they get their creature back. There is no. It totally avoids the stack now.
Mhm.
Oblivion Ring, Journey to Nowhere are different than that. They're not going back. They're not errataing old cards. They're just doing it to that's
This
how they're
is
going to.
forward.
This is how they're going to print
Yeah.
it now. So what are the implications of this? I think that means we're going to see a new Oblivion Ring. It's going to be we're going to see that ability with the new Banisher Priest text.
They might just feel like safer putting
It on creatures.
on creatures. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually did that a while ago because like Faceless Butcher was a card that had the old Oblivion
Mhm.
Ring. Because you can do the same sort of cheat effect with that. You could do the same sort of cheating effect with that Tetravark or something. You know?
Oh,
what I'm saying?
Petrivar?
Petravark.
Oh.
Yeah. And actually, I think World Gorger Dragon is the big offender with Animate Dead.
Oh yeah, that was an actual like legacy thing, wasn't
Yeah.
it? World Gorger Dragon was a 6-drop 7/7 flying trample nightmare dragon. Wow, that's a cool creature type. When it comes into play, remove all other permanents you control. When it enters the battlefield, exile all the permanents you control. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So bring it in,
You
sacrifice
just need to
it.
have something that has like an effect that deals 1 damage when it comes in. Or
So then you
something.
basically get to exile all other permanents you control. I see. Well, I can see why that would be obnoxious. But yeah, I really like the Nightmare Dragon. This picture is sweet. It's like a crazy looking dragon with like claws, and he's got this weird little.
Claws.
He's got this weird little. He's got like little chicken feet.
Yeah,
he's got
he does
chicken
have
feet
chicken
hands.
feet.
And
It's
then
a
he's-
Wayne England art, so that's how his style is.
I really like this crazy thing he's got coming out of
That
his
worm
like, yeah.
mouth thing is
Ew.
actually part of the nightmare, like what identifies a nightmare creature.
What are some other sweet nightmares
Like
from around this time?
Wormfang. Just look up Wormfang.
All those Wormfang creatures were nightmares.
See on the top of its head is.
Oh, he's
that
got a little
thing.
claw on,
Yeah.
and then the crab. Oh, here it is, right here. You can see it.
Yeah.
It's just like facing the.
Well, I'm gonna get nightmares, so it totally works.
Oh, you're right. They all do have that. That's cool. Where's the newt? That was my favorite because it's so bad.
I feel like
I guess it's probably the
tongue,
thing coming
yeah.
out of his. Oh, it is definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
ew.
So all the Wormfang creatures have these, like you said, the little mouths coming out of them.
I have no
Um,
idea what those Wormfangs mean.
Wormfang Newt was hilarious because he's so bad.
It's probably the little prehensile thing that's the worm thing.
Well, I gather that. What I mean is I don't really understand what it had to do with like the storyline, like
At
what,
that time,
what the Wormfang represents as far as a nightmare goes.
I remember jamming Judgment drafts online when I was a youngster a long time ago, and
Wormfang Behemoth is not bad.
no, I straight up remember I always, for some reason I did a ton of Judgment drafts, and I was always going for that stupid Web of Inertia, Mist of Stagnation. Then there was like a line of white cards that let you generate some positive effect at the cost of like returning cards from
Mhm.
their graveyard to their hand.
Yeah.
So that worked really well with Web of Inertia too, because then it was like more difficult for them to fill their graveyard,
Mhm.
and they could never attack you. Fun deck, didn't work out that often, but what can I say? I drafted a lot differently when I was younger. So, yeah, we talked about the rules change. Was there any other significant rule changes that we talked about a little bit before we started the podcast, Jake? I forgot. Was
Not
there?
really.
There's
Everything
some,
was like
clarifications and
there were
just,
functional rules changes, but
Mhm.
nothing that was like too important. Like Chaos Orb.
We
as
can
functional
remind
rules.
people about the most significant part, the legendary and planeswalker rule changes.
Uniqueness.
So the new legendary rules are as follows. Each player can have the same legend out, and if you play another legend of the same type, you choose one and you sacrifice it. So the reason that's significant is, before, the old rules, if anytime another legend entered the battlefield, regardless of side, they'd both be put into the graveyard. They'd both be, and it's not even that they would be sacrificed, it was nothing like that. It was put them into the graveyard. So it was just a straight up effect. But this is important that you get to choose if you play two of the same, which one you want to sacrifice, or is it just put into the graveyard, which one you want to put into the graveyard. Because let's say, you know, they've put some negative aura, or they've tapped down permanently your other.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool that you can play a new legend and then just flush away the old one that's getting locked down.
Yeah.
So it's significant that you have straight up the choice now. Same with like Planeswalkers. If your opponent has a Jace, you play a Jace, you're both keeping your Jace. If you play another Jace, you choose which Jace you want to dump and get rid of that. So let's say you've sucked all the loyalty down to like 1 on one of your Jace, play a new one, get rid of the 1 loyalty one, get a whole new use of your Jace. It's pretty crazy, actually. It's crazy that you can be like, Jace uses ability, play another Jace, get rid of the old one, use Jace again.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can really...
You can chain it together, but to like...
I don't want to make you think it's like more significant than it is. It's I still consider it a pretty minor change, and I think people are getting a little uproarious about it still.
It gives a lot more options to you as a player, because you can go through like more of the cards. Instead of sitting there with 2 dead Jaces in your hand,
Yeah.
you can actually play another one to draw more cards or whatever and keep going, or you can just sit there on them, I guess, too.
And clone effects aren't kill spells anymore, which I kind of, I don't know. I'm behind that. I'm down with that. I don't think clone effects need to be kill spells.
I don't like it as a... I never liked it as a kill effect, actually, and it never made sense. And actually, clone should have been one of the ways to get around the legendary rule in the first place, because...
It's just a clone.
Yeah, it's a clone.
If you were to think about it flavorfully, it would be like they've designed something that looks like... Because it's not the genuine thing, they should have let them both be out.
Magically copied you, basically.
But there might be some implications if they were to do that we're not really thinking.
Oh, there would just it would have been impossible to word it correctly. Like, except it's not a legendary creature.
It's like play Geist of Saint Draft. I'm gonna copy him twice with my clone effects. Start swinging in with like a million angels. So there would be some obnoxious little interactions, but
I'm happy that it is not a kill.
So that's that's the most significant change that M14 is bringing. And overall, I'm behind it. I don't think people are as up in arms as they were when they first announced it. But is this the month that, as the rule officially going to change with the pre-release or with the actual release?
I think it was the pre-release.
I thought it was played that way at the pre-release, but the rules change doesn't take effect in real Magic until the release.
Okay.
But we should check. We should check that, because
how do we?
Yeah, there's a whole week of.
How do we check it?
Just look up M14 rules change.
Like, isn't this it though?
That's the update to the rules change. We want like the effective, like when are they effective?
Saturday, effective.
July 13th.
Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So they're straight up.
They're in.
New rules. New legend rules.
Hey, that's not fair. I was playing Moto today, and somebody Garricked my Garrick.
Oh, they don't have it. Oh, they don't have it online yet. No. That's a good point. Yeah, when do they?
Cool.
Well, let's say that it's probably. Let's say it's probably about a week behind usually when they start, and for this it might even take longer, I guess, because they have to alter all the programming.
I'm guessing it'll change on Wednesday when there's like the updates.
I have a feeling we're gonna make some mistakes for a little while. This is something that's been around in Magic historically forever. Actually, Jake, what was the original legend? Oh, the original legend change was terrible. It was if you played a legend first and then your opponent played a legend, their legend died. So it was like it was just like
no new legends could come out with that same name.
It was a race to get your legend out, and then if you resolved it, you're like, thank God.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have a shot. He has to kill my legend before he can play his.
So stupid. And it worked like counterintuitive to the world enchantment rule. So it was like you had 2 different effects going.
Yeah, and if you don't know what world enchantments were, it's kind of funny because they mentioned that briefly in the update bulletin that we just looked at. I think they just clarified what it does, but world enchantments were enchantments that I guess were supposed to be things that granted really powerful effects, but they were unique in that you could only have one on the board.
The theme was that when you cast a world enchantment, you're actually changing the plane. You're going to a new battlefield somewhere else, and so that's why So it's basically Plane Chase before they invented Plane Chase.
And it's on actual cards.
Yeah, and you controlled which Plane Chase you wanted to go to each time. But if you ever, so like, you would have a world enchantment out, so if someone cast a new one, that would be the world that you would be going to, and so the other one would be put into the graveyard, and you'd go to the new one.
But they don't print them anymore.
No, they've obsoleted it completely.
Okay.
They don't like, I don't think, the effect is actually, it doesn't make sense for the game. You put your setting on a plane, and then they can cast a spell to get to a different plane, you know? So, like, where are you going to put world enchantments that it's going to make sense?
I always felt like the effects weren't powerful enough. Granted, they were on vintage cards, so they were still in their sort of experimental phase of power levels. But
some of them were good. In the Eye of Chaos, the Abyss.
In the Eye of Chaos is a 3-mana world enchantment. Whenever a player casts an instant spell, counter it unless that player pays X, where it's X converted mana cost. I guess that's pretty good.
It's a good anti-counter.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that vintage art too.
Field of Dreams is one of my favorites.
It's a good movie with Kevin Costner.
Yeah, that's the art actually.
1 mana world.
You can't tell because he's got a mask. But...
1 mana world enchantment. Players play with the top card of the library is revealed. It's kind of cool. I don't know. It doesn't feel.
It's not great, but like it's just like.
It's a cool ability.
Yeah, it's a cool ability that like. This is the first time it was done. You know what I'm saying?
In Legends.
Like revealing the top card of your library.
Oh, I see.
It's like, it's actually just
it seemed more powerful at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also one that like made you reveal your hand.
Yeah, but that one, Revelation, I don't think is a world enchantment, but maybe it is.
A lot of revelations we got, folks.
It is.
Called it.
Players play with their hands revealed.
Like, where in the universe is Revelation?
In the House of God, where all of you is revealed, obviously, because of the stained glass art.
Now, this is kind of interesting, too.
Revelation. You're just trapped in stained glass.
Yeah.
Look at the flavor text. Many are in high place and of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek. And they made it seem like a religious text sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't Ecclesiasticus something?
Is that actually real, or that's not a real religious thing?
I thought Ecclesiastes was a book of the Bible.
Yeah, well, Ecclesiasticus would probably be the guy who wrote them.
You should look that up.
Is that so? They actually had like Bible references.
They used to always do. Like Dirkwood Boars was totally biblical reference, and so was Segovian Leviathan.
Ecclesiastes is a book of the Jewish Ketuvim, meaning writings, one of the 3 sections making up the Hebrew Bible and of the Old Testament. All right, well, solve that one, folks. I definitely have some religious text on old Magic cards. Revelation's funny because it's like, I guess it's a green effect that's not a green effect.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how I could put it in. And also the art, like, it just screams white if you're going to do that.
I thought it was blue.
Like, yeah, it should be a blue effect in the
because we already have it, telepathy. And it's better because you don't have to show your hand.
But
it's not a world enchantment.
It could be justified as white because it's evening the playing field for everybody. So, like, because it affects you, it could be seen as a white card.
I guess we usually expect to see stuff like this in blue because we're used to blue with having peak type effects on it.
But green also had, what is it? Not natural order.
There's a card that let you. Oh, are you talking about a natural selection?
Yeah, natural selection.
That let you look at the top cards of your library.
Ponder.
Yeah, sort of. But
no draw.
But what was it for? It was only for specific.
And you could do it to your opponent's library too. But there was no draw. It was ponder.
You may opt to rearrange those 3 cards. Thanks.
Woo. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Woo.
Thanks for letting me opt. All right, well, we had a good little M14 chat there. Why don't we talk about Modern Masters once again? Morgan, you've got some more experience than both Jake and I on this, so
really?
Why don't you talk about what you did in Modern Masters? How many events did you play, I guess?
Like 3 or 4. The price is kind of prohibitive, especially online, where the return is not as good as at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I was lucky to break even. Both of the events that I played, like between the value of the cards I got a Cryptic Command and then like 2 packs. So that put me at 21, and I was able to like do it again.
Now, were you all online? You didn't do any?
I did one in person, like in real life at the store, and I pretty much played the same thing all 3 times. No, actually, no, I didn't. Online, I played green, white Thalids both times, and it's actually very powerful because it really takes advantage of Sand Sower, and like the only problem I had with that is getting Sand Sower's effect before their declare attack phase. So like misclicking was an issue. But Sand Sower, you tap 3 untapped creatures you control to tap a target creature. You can do this as many times as you want as long as you have the creatures to pay for the ability. So it's really helpful. You tap all of their creatures before their attack phase with all your assorted little Thalids, and then the next turn you untap with all your Thalids. You use like Mycoloid Thalid, which sacrifice the Thalid. Thalids and fungi you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So you do that, you like sacrifice a couple Thalids and then you swing, and it's really, 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 really powerful.
It's like a little overrun type effect.
Yeah, and then like trump the domains. Usually I could get a couple of those late, and I'd play 1 or 2.
So it was the Pallid Mycard.
Pallid
Okay.
And it just had real inevitability to it. It also had problems with flyers. So
was it a little bit slow? It seemed because it took
really
a while to get to spit out all the little 1/1 Thalids. That was always kind of the problem with the Thalid deck. It was awesome that it was like cheap creatures that have additional abilities.
Yeah.
But waiting 3 turns took forever.
And then I did play red-white giants in real life as well. It was pretty fun because I got a Stonehewer giant.
Oh, nice.
And I got a Rune Stalactite.
Oh, nice.
So Stonehewer giant plus Rune Stalactite plus Kidkin Greatheart, which is a 2/1 that if you control a giant as well, it gets +1/+1 and has first strike. So if you give it Rune Stalactite, it gets +2/+2 first strike, and even if you don't have any giants.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is. And then
gets his own ability. That's cool.
Yep. And then there's a red instant, like Crush Underfoot, I believe. And those kept going really, really late in pack 1, which is what put me into...
You have to be giants to make use of them. So.
Yeah, so Crush Underfoot is an instant for 1 and a red. Choose a giant creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature. And what really put me into giants was getting like 3 Crush Underfoot really late. I had picked up, I think it was Stonehewer Giant, so I was using those. I decided that since nobody else is using them, I might as well use them. And it was pretty fun for me because it gave me really solid removal at like really cheap.
Plus you had the Rune Stalactite, which also works wonderfully with this Crush Underfoot. So
and I believe I had an Avian Changeling as well.
Crush Underfoot's really cool because it's like a one-sided prey upon or whatever. Yeah, that's really good. So overall impressions, do you think it's a great fun format? Do you think it's a
lot of fun, and if it wasn't $45 a draft, I would be doing it a lot more often than I am. But I haven't pulled Tarmogoyf, or like my most worthwhile card was a Yosei, which was really fun to play with, but it's not exactly gonna pay for my draft at all. Like a couple of the cards in a rare spot in M14 would. So
our buddy Ryan contacted us and was saying, I really want to do a Modern Masters draft, and we're like, well, share screen with us because we want to help you out since we haven't done it because it's so so cost prohibitive. So we helped him out. And what was the dragon that he got? He got the blue one. So, Kaiga. But Jake and I were kind of like at a loss to know what the best strategy was going to be. We kind of had an impression. We tried to briefly look over like what each color is like trying to direct you towards. And what did we end up building? It was blue-white, or was it just
blue-black?
Blue-black, okay.
Fairies.
But he had like a million spell stutter sprays. And they were cool, and he did counter a few things. But the real problem was I felt like the format was slower than I initially thought it was going to be. So what ended up happening a lot of the time was they didn't start playing spells until like 500 mana cost. And actually we just he got annihilated by Imperiosaur, which I didn't realize was that common in this format. So if you don't know Imperiosaur, it was originally from Future Sight, and it's a 4 mana 4 mana 5/5, but you can only cast it using basic lands.
Yeah,
but that's not a big deal.
What's so funny about
Limited.
it is that there's only the Vivids and
Yeah.
then City of Brass in
So
this
he's
limited.
he's
So
pretty much
like,
just like a hyper efficient green creature.
There's like no
at common.
non-basics.
See, he wouldn't be a big deal if he was at uncommon, because then you don't expect to ever get more than like 2. The fact that he's at common, you could straight up get like 5 of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like that
And then you
Power-
just play Search for Tomorrow, and it's all beautiful.
yeah, that power toughness is so good.
5 is
for
such a
4 mana
yeah.
common. I mean, would you ever print a vanilla 4 mana 5/5 at common?
In green?
In green.
No. And that's supposed to be the color
conflict.
with the most powerful
Yeah.
creatures, but it still doesn't feel right.
That ability isn't a big enough downside to justify it at common, in my opinion. Because when you put it at uncommon, it's pretty much for limited. Or like, not all the time, but a lot of times. When you see a card that's like, this could have been a common, and they put it at uncommon, it's because it's too good for limited. But like,
they didn't do that here.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they didn't. I mean, you could make the argument, but look at the rare set, dude. All the rares are the craziest rares from in like recent Magic modern
I think
history.
I would have been actually more accepting of Masked Admirers at common than Imperiosaur at common.
I can't believe Masked Admirers was uncommon either. Actually, this card was so amazing.
Yeah,
And,
it was really good. And
Lorwyn at rare, still amazing.
Mhm.
You're getting a 3/2 creature. You're drawing a card. This was actually a constructed played card.
yeah, I played it.
At rare, constructed played. Because
The
it
thing is
renews
that
itself
it's like-
too.
It still requires a lot of time and resources, whereas Imperiosaur will always be your turn 4 5/5.
True.
And this one is better than Striped Bears for the same cost, and Striped Bears was a common.
I just feel like this is an extremely playable limited card, and if the fact that it already made some constructed play, saw some constructed play, that it's a good card.
It is a good card, and
Constantly renewing itself.
but would you rather see this or Imperiosaur at common?
That's a good question. I don't even know. No, they both obnoxious. I don't even know what's more
I
obnoxious.
mean, this would be really annoying to see at common too.
Yeah,
You're
it would.
right.
Oh my
You're
god,
right.
chaining this in
But
multiples would be so
Imperiosaur
sick.
is like Imperiosaur and another one and another one. Like,
So
and now
they
what
just,
are you gonna
God, are there any other examples
Bonfire.
Yeah.
Bonfire.
are there examples in other colors where they did something obnoxious like that, where they made
do?
like
They downgraded it way too much.
yeah, they didn't think about it enough. Do you like that I did
They've
kind of
done
like
a
that
lot
they did
of
the
like
inclusion
shifts,
of
actually Tribal Flames to uncommon, which is funny because it's like you're not even playing Domain.
what the
Yeah, and they did another one too to uncommon. Empty the Warrens went to uncommon.
and that was originally common?
Mhm.
Are you kidding me?
No, they didn't.
Okay,
I thought
if empty's like too easy to do in limited,
Oh, Desperate Ritual. That I thought was weird.
that they made that uncommon since it's like already a worse than Seething Sun.
Yeah,
or
you're not
whatever.
even going to use it in limited the way that you're thinking it's going to go down because you didn't even put Guild Mage in here.
Well, I guess it's cool that they at least like allowed the idea of a storm deck
Yeah.
in Modern Masters, but I would say that's probably pretty difficult.
Just
to
It's
do.
play-
possible.
Just play
Matt
a bunch
Nass.
of one-drop artifacts, like spellbombs and stuff.
You need the suspend guys too.
Oh, I think I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say I would go visit Matt Nass. I bet he's been playing Modern Masters, and you know what he's probably been going for? I bet Storm every single time. That's exactly like his style of play. He's always the one that in all the cubes, he's always trying to do the most obnoxious combo decks. So in fact, I'm probably gonna look into that after this podcast is over. I bet Matt Nass has done some Modern Masters Storm decks. Dragon Storm, though, kind of funny because it's 9 mana.
And
That would be a tough.
And how many good dragons? I
could
guess
you-
they're all mythic dragons. So
There's
Good
probably,
luck.
I mean, there's probably more dragons than that,
oh,
right?
Partic. Yeah.
Well, no, actually beyond that, any changeling. So this is a changeling format, which I do like. I liked the idea of changelings in Lorwyn block. They were really I felt like Lorwyn block was a very fun format. In fact, what was it, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we were doing a little bit. I think we only did a couple, but we did some Lorwyn block, and it's still so much fun. It really was. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The changelings are a blast. You have that entire set of uncommon tribal equipment. that interacts really well.
Yeah.
The stuff that when you play something, it like automatically attaches itself
Yep.
if it meets the criteria. So that was really cool with the changelings. And Jake and I made this like sick mono green beats deck that was just like dominating everybody. It was because we had that axe that it gets +2/+1 haste if you have whenever you do a warrior. And like I swear we probably had like 11 warriors in our deck or something like that.
All elf tokens are warriors too.
We had something else that was obnoxious in that deck, but that was a lot of fun. We just like destroyed. And then later we did another draft and I got like 3 or 4 Aether Snipes and they were just like it was obnoxious. It was like back to back to back. One guy was like freaking out on me, getting so upset, just getting so mad at like back to back to back Aether Snipes. I was like, don't pass me 4 of them, then, you know? Gotta know to take that. Aether Snipe to me is still like the best of the Void Wielders because I put it in line alongside Void Wielder. It's definitely better than Void Wielder, but it shows you even like the one that they print at 6 now is what Dinrova Horror at uncommon in multiple colors, and they do have the added discard, but it doesn't have Evoke on it, so it's not like it can save you if you're mana screwed or something. So that was kind of how I felt about it. Did they put a full basic land cycling common set in here?
Yes.
Did they put Gleam and?
Yes, they put their
They have so they have
And they put the green one.
Yeah.
Because I knew they put all the other ones.
The
Silver
Gale
okay. So they have all of them. I see. Do they? What was the other mana fixing that, or the special lands? Oh, City of Brass. Okay.
Terramorphic.
See, this feels like something I feel like wouldn't have been obnoxious at uncommon.
I got a foil one, and I'm really happy that it was rare. So.
I guess it's strictly better than all of the. No, it's not even strictly better. I was gonna say strictly better than the old Corset Pain lands, but at least the old Corset Pain lands let you tap for colorless mana, so you didn't have to punish yourself. So considering this land always is going to punish you, what? I mean, should you expect to take like 3 or 4 damage from it in a game? You know what I mean?
You should expect to take like 5 or 6.
So if you're lava axing yourself with a land, then they shouldn't have been so opposed to maybe putting it in uncommon just to help with like people fixing. But I guess at the same time they already had Terramorphic. So there's actually Glimmer Void too. What's this one? You need artifacts to do it. They actually had some pretty decent fixing from what I see. All the Vivid lands, City of Brass, Glimmer Void.
Terramorphic are good. So you gotta really think that only the Terramorphic and the Vivids are gonna be reliable limited fixing.
Yeah, I drafted a City of Brass, but it was mostly because it was $25. I didn't play it because I was playing 2 colors and.
Can't believe it's worth that much. Holy crap!
Play it in limited if I was
so
2 colors.
why? What's Academy Ruins? I didn't even know that was modern legal. I've always kind of. Okay, that card's always kind of annoyed me.
It is annoying, but it's not broken.
No.
What's the most annoying? Oh, it's like Mindslaver. Ugh. That's what it was. That is what it was.
Put it on top of your library, cast sack, put it on top of your library again, and you're
just never getting your turn back. Yeah. Glimmer Void. Does that feel right at rare? It must have been originally from Mirrodin or something.
It's for like affinity.
Yeah.
It's definitely like.
It was originally from Mirrodin, and you could play it with artifact lands, so it was retarded.
So this is in modern too, and people are playing it modern.
It's $13.
Because you can. It's not when you control no artifacts. It's at the beginning of your the end step. So
good
each
point.
end step
Now
it checks it. So you can play
pretty
it
unusual.
And activate it.
That's pretty.
Mana.
Usually, it's just like a static effect when you don't for stipulations like that, where it's like if you don't have this.
They've done it before with Thran Quarry, and it was the same effect, except only it checked for creatures instead.
And it's at the beginning of the end step again. Okay. But they've also done it the other way, where it's like, if at any time you don't control something, like old blue creatures, what are the Island Home creatures?
Yeah. But I think for lands, they want you to be able to like use it the first turn to play the required type of card. Like, that's why they do it this way, for this.
So you still get a chance to do it.
To get the card type.
Because it's actually just too obnoxious to instantly lose your land when you don't control it anymore. It's too debilitating to do that. I guess that makes sense. So,
you're in M14 again.
Is there anything else we want to say? Vidalcan Shackles. That card's really sick, too. stealing creatures. Which swords did they bring back? It was just the really important ones, the Fire and Ice and the Light and Shadow.
They couldn't bring back the other ones because they were too late. They weren't going past Shards block.
I see. Okay. And like you said, they're kind of doing the affinity because people like the affinity, but it's dialed back because the artifact lands are banned still for good reason. I mean, it was 2 artifact lands. Suddenly I'm casting Frogmite. Suddenly I'm casting Mirror Enforcers. And then it's turn 3 and I have like 4 artifact creatures and 3 lands or something.
Yeah.
So.
Or like.
That was obnoxious.
Play Welding Jar. On turn 2 I have 2 artifact lands. Play a Frogmite. Play another Frogmite.
Oh yeah. No, that's a good point. Because you could have it turn 2 so easily. Even without the artifact. In addition to the artifact lands, you're playing cheap artifacts to make them cheaper.
Affinity, and then there was also Thoughtcast. So it was like, oh, 1 blue and now I'll draw 2.
Yeah, I'll draw 2.
I'll play these 2. Like, that I just drew.
Yeah, that deck was, that was a bad time in Magic. That was
it was way too, like, combo. I mean, without it actually being like a combo, it was basically everything was Burning Tree Emissary. Free stuff everywhere.
A lot of multicolor spells in,
yeah.
In this Modern Masters. Jor of the Gitu, Maelstrom Pulse is in it. That's kind of cool.
Mind Funeral's cool to see.
Night of the Reliquary. Yeah, Mind Funeral.
Sarkinvolt.
Mind Funeral's always been a very popular sort of casual card.
I got a regular one.
But I mean, let's face it. In this limited environment, if you get like 2 or 3 Mind Funerals, you should be looking pretty good. It's like a little it's a little Mirko Vosk every time.
Yeah.
And we all know how good Mirko Vosk was in RTR block.
Wait.
Pretty sick. Sarkinvol, like you mentioned, 4-mana old Planeswalker, one of the OG ones from Shards block. It was like the first time that they expanded from the Lorwyn Planeswalkers. It was like, we're going to try multicolor Planeswalkers now. And Sarkinvol was a weird one. He has +1, creatures control get +1/+1, gain haste. -2, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it, gains haste until end of turn. -6, put 5 dragons. All his abilities were pretty good. His +1 was a little bit lackluster, I think.
Well, if you drop him and then put him up 1, and then the next turn like put a bunch of tokens into play, and then +1, suddenly they're all swinging, which is nice and useful. And I definitely played in balance. So.
The problem was that he doesn't protect himself for constructed.
His ultimate, though,
very good limited.
He did have an awesome ultimate.
Yeah, he did. He had a game-winning ultimate, actually.
Yeah.
If
took 3 turns to build towards.
Yeah.
But the steal creature effect is very good too. And this is not the only Planeswalker that steals creatures. I think we've also got, Nicol Bolas or something.
But he steals them permanently for...
Nicol Bolas says, yeah, you're right. This is just a little active treason. But still, active treason can finish the game. It's kind of funny they put Progenitus. Is there a way to cheat him out in this format? Or are we looking at, you have to have 2 of each color to play this guy?
Guys? No, I can't think of any.
Are you happy to see?
I can't think of any either.
Did you like Progenitus, the protection from everything 10-drop?
Whatever.
Did you think it was cute that they used the wording protection from everything?
It's fine.
What was sort of their comment on that? Why?
Because at one point they realized they could do it, and I think it was Onslaught block. They were like, "Oh my God, we can actually say protection from everything," but I think they wanted to do it on Achroma, but then they were like, no, something like that. Like, it was just too good. So then they were like, we'll save that for a time that we can do it.
Why do you, was there something actually related to Onslaught block, or it just happened to coincide? It was the time of Onslaught block when they thought of it.
Maybe it was Odyssey block even when they did protection from all colors.
Are you talking about that Angel?
Luminous Angel?
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know. I remember reading an article about... No, it's not Luminous.
Yeah, Iridescent. That's right. The 7-drop 4/4 flying protection from all colors. So expensive, but you're right. It was Odyssey block, and so this is kind of the time where they.
But I think protection from everything and flying was too good for 4/4.
Too good.
I think so.
Because it was a 5-turn clock, and there wasn't much they could do about it. I mean, they could.
Well, there was like no restriction to it at 7 mana, 2 colors. You know, like at least on Progenitus. there's huge restriction, and cheating it into play is like your best option.
And actually, the thing about
Dramatic entrance.
Yeah.
there were still
Is
ways
that
to kill him
Log.
and sacrifice.
Yeah.
So there were still multiple ways to kill him. So it's not really protection from everything. It's not protection from your controller. It's not protection from global effects that hit everything. So everything to me was kind of like a word where it's like, why even bother if you're not going to make it everything?
Because sacrifice has never been protected by protection.
Okay.
So you can have protection from sacrifice, but it doesn't mean anything.
Also, Progenitus is just like the baddest of the bad. Like, so awesome and awe-inspiring that protection from everything is the only way to, like,
I see. Encompass how badass he is. Okay.
Yeah.
He did have an awesome picture. I always
Yeah.
did like his picture because
Mhm.
the best part about his picture was you don't. It's like
You don't see all of them.
you know what it almost is. It's like Cloverfield. It's like the
Yeah.
Cloverfield thing where you're like, oh my god, I get like a taste of what Progenitus is, and if I knew what it really was, I'm sure it would be terrifying. So I have to commend Jamie Jones on his or her terrific art for this picture.
Yeah, it is really good.
Mhm.
It is really good art.
Very scary.
Just
It's in the
seeing
mist.
it in the clouds.
It's in the
yeah.
clouds,
And
yeah.
it's not even headed towards you, but you're still scared.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's like very
know it's
similar
there.
and evocative of like the way the Eldrazi feel. And Time of Heroes has the same kind of feel, in my opinion, that art.
Now I'm excited. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that, where it's got like Emrakul, and or is that just a normal Eldra?
I
can't
think
even tell.
that is actually Emrakul,
Okay, and then
but
you
I'm
just
not
see.
sure.
I think if I was one of these soldiers, I'd be like, yeah, let's go get him, and then just get the hell out
Yeah.
of here. I'd be that guy with the axe. It's like, yeah, I'm ready, guys. Just tiptoe.
I'll just wait for you guys to go ahead.
Go ahead, guys. Right behind you. Yeah, I don't know what those guys are gonna do against Emrakul. I don't anticipate
Well,
that.
they have level
panning out
counters
well.
on them, so they're probably like all transcendent masters or something. with
Yeah.
level
Oh,
counters.
yeah. That's a good point. Let's read the flavor text. No one spoke. There was no need. The threat of the Eldrazi presented a simple choice: lay down your weapons and die for nothing, or hold them fast and die for something. It's cool. It's very William Wallace, very Braveheart-esque. I like it. What was the other card you mentioned too, besides Time of Heroes?
Just Eldrazi, I was saying. Like,
Oh, the way that
Eldrazi
Emrakul.
art.
Yeah. Well,
Emrakul
Emrakul's
in-
art was cool because they gave you the perspective on him too, didn't they? Where it was like, oh, I spell his name wrong.
You
No,
do-
not that art. I'm actually thinking of, what's the one where you see the perspective on the... Oh, this is the one, right? Where
Yeah,
the
you
little...
just can't see it, but he's down here.
Oh, okay. No, I know how to
He's
do
right there next to the 1550.
Because you can do the full art Emrakul,
Yeah.
or full art Emrakul. And this shows you him?
No,
Or, okay.
it's just a wallpaper. This one or that one.
Okay, so basically we're looking for the dude in this picture.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he's down there.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so you get a full perspective on how huge Emrakul actually is. And
And
see
he's
the little-
like in the foreground compared to Emrakul.
who's in the background.
What's really
and is
sweet
still
is like
just enormously big.
this one has a statue of an Eldrazi. Both of these two. That one presumably is.
Does that
too.
tell you that the people who lived on Zendikar were aware of the Eldrazi, or what?
Well, originally they were like Sorin and the two planeswalkers, Ugin and the nameless other one, lured the Eldrazi there. Sorin had used blood magic, I think, to lure them, and then the Lithomancer, who is the guy who created the Hedrons, they like created a matrix that formed a prison that trapped the Eldrazi, and then I think Ugin was the one that like subdued them and actually put them into Zendikar, like in an actual prison and locked it.
Okay.
You know, so they were like subdued within Zendikar, which is why Zendikar had the royal. Like everything about Zendikar was the world knew that it had this like giant force, evil. Well, not even evil, just like alien, but
Other.
what is the force? Like they annihilate things. They're just destructive. They're like pure destruction.
They're of a different
Eldritch.
essence. They're
Yeah,
of a different like
yeah.
essence than
Well-
the living beings on
Yeah.
Zendikar.
But Zendikar, the plane, knew that they were there, trapped on Zendikar, and not to give it like sentient form or anything, but its ecosystems and everything began to warp dramatically because they were there, and that's why Zendikar had such a fierce, like, plant eating, like, people, you know. Everything is set up to defend against the Eldrazi that are imprisoned on Zendikar.
Is this an artist signature here?
Yeah, that's Mark Teaton's signature.
09, saying like the date when he drew it too. A little interesting back lore there on Eldrazi. They were a really exciting time because they were such a unique. It was like the first time we saw gray creatures, which is really trying to show you how different the Eldrazi were from everything of Magic. Because they were colorless creatures that weren't artifacts, so it was like
everything about them is really cool. They have like pseudo-human appendages, you know, but then their colors are all so alien and purple, blue, and red hues, you know, like things that aren't normal colors for animals, you know. So it's just like they did a really good job as far as making them completely unidentifiable. You don't look at the Eldrazi and go, I relate to that person or that thing, you know? Like, you look at the Eldrazi and you're just like, what the fuck?
In awe of how weird it is. And the Annihilator ability was such a over-the-top sort of like, just a crushing...
It was a good way to
show how powerful they were. It really was. Because when we first saw... Because I feel like the actual first Rise of the Eldrazi card I remember that was spoiled was Kozilek. And we saw it and we're like, holy crap, what is this? It's like a 10 mana, what was that, 12-12 or whatever?
12 with Annihilator 4, draw 4 cards when you cast it.
We're like, oh my god.
Shuffle everything in.
How many abilities are you going to put on that card?
And he's like the weakest of the 3 of them.
Yeah, because then you had Ulamog, and then you had Emrakul. So that was a fun time. They made for a good limited environment too, because they had all these means for you to actually get 8 to 15 mana out in a game using the spawns, because otherwise you would never expect to be able to play one in a limited game. So that was actually a very good idea on their part to be like, let's make it so let's make it so like players can play 10 mana spells, because how often do players get to play 10 mana spells?
Well, and so they also pushed Defender as like a theme too. So
there was something to do early that was sort of like a stave off an aggro strategy. Let me set up to get
aggro strategies were like really hard to make work in Eldrazi.
I agree. There was like the 2/1 bat for 3. There were like a couple. Oh, you could do the what was the green creature that when you cast an aura on it, it got like bigger and couldn't be
Aura Gnarlid.
Yeah, Aura Gnarlid was like a legit strategy because there was totem armor was like one of the mechanics of the of that set. So Aura Gnarlid along with some totems was really sick.
And I think Aura Gnarlid just checked the amount of auras
to decide,
not necessarily the ones that were enchanting it, and then its power was what. Like, people are
determined if it could block it or not.
Creatures with power less than his couldn't block him.
He's a cool looking beast.
Yeah, so even your opponent's totem armors, like.
Oh wow! I didn't even realize that. That is kind of crazy. So that was actually a draft strategy you could do, because there were actually a lot of cool cheap totem armors, like the Spider Umbra and the Hyena Umbra. Is that the one that gave first strike?
Those were the two really
there was one that gave
Snake
reach.
Umbra and the Bear Umbra.
Yeah, Snake Umbra. That was the one that let draw
Snake
cards,
Umbra
right?
was sick.
Yeah, that was really good.
People use Bear Umbra with
Bear Umbra was
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah.
Bear Umbra was a cool one. I want to say this saw like a little bit of constructed play, but I can't remember where it saw constructed play.
Okay, charge.
What a funny ability for a bear to have. Untap all lands you control.
That doesn't seem like something a bear would do.
Yeah.
Try and think about that flavorfully. Maybe it's because when he attacks, he's hibernating, and then he untaps everything while he's hibernating. He rests.
Interesting
Or
theory.
maybe he's waking up from hibernation and.
I have no idea. I don't see how a bear relates to.
I feel like some tree folk Umbra or something like. What can you call it? Ironroot Umbra would have been fine.
Wouldn't of some sort of druid or the historic cards that untap.
You can't do druid Umbra. Like a guy inside a guy.
But druids aren't humans. I don't get it. You could be like essence of the
but they're
Dryad
Umbra,
essence of
so they have to be done like this, where you're inside an animal.
Okay,
So
so
it's-
try and think of a creature type that untaps lands you control. I'm sure there's some examples.
It's there's got to be.
I think
a
it's
green
just
one.
not typically. Bear is not the first creature that
Yeah.
comes to mind when you think of untapping lands. So he's just floating in there. That is kind of cool. Yeah, and let me read Totem Armor and make sure I interpreted it correctly. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So if you had multiple Totem Armor creatures,
You chose one.
okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked the way that you wanted it to.
Yeah.
That's good. And still, Totem Armor never really made that much of a splash on Constructed.
Yeah.
So that was their attempt. That was their attempt at what? Making auras more playable. Still failed. What's the next attempt, Jake? On making auras playable? Yeah.
It's the one with Bonds of Faith or whatever, where it has an effect.
The double effects.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that a little bit, and actually we've done that in our set.
And I think it's the best way to make them playable.
Yeah, you need to make them.
Bonds of Faith is not playable in Standard either.
No, a little bit. Actually, I think they're probably doing pacifism.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
There's
sad.
too
Actually.
many humans.
Well, it's kind of sad that it's like.
And
You wanted this to
when
be
it's
more
like
playable.
this,
Yeah.
when it's contingent on a creature type, or what? Not contingent. I'm sorry, reliant on a creature type.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course it's going to be a little more risky to play in your main deck in Standard.
Yeah. What was the really old school aura that was like if you Spirit of Undeath or something, or is that what it was? Not right.
Oh, Clutch of Undeath.
Clutch. Is that a double one too? Yeah, so it gets Clutch of Undeath was a 5. This is a really old school one too. 5 mana aura, enchanted creature gets +3/+3 as long as it's a zombie, otherwise it gets -3/-3. So don't you think an aura like this
Phyrexian Boon is probably the first.
is kind of a cool idea? Yeah, that's probably way old school. So from alliances, we've got enchanted creature gets +2/+1 as long as it's black, otherwise it gets -1/-2. So this is kind of the direction that Jake and I ultimately, I think, want auras to go. Only if you ever want them to make their way into Constructed. And I guess even that's a lie too, because Bant Hexproof is a deck right now, but that's more reliant on not the auras being good.
Yeah,
it's reliant on your
creature.
stupid hexproof, unblockable, invisible stalker that annoys people all in, and your Geist of Slain Draft with a Spectral Flight on it, dealing 1 million damage. So auras are playable in decks with hexproof, but I think I would like to see auras playable in decks without hexproof. Wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like them to be worthwhile, I guess.
How did you end up feeling about hexproof in general as a sort of replacement for Shroud, as like the new Shroud?
It's good. I mean, I don't know what to say about it other than it's a good ability.
It's a good ability. Are you happy with it in the game? Are you happy?
I don't like the trade-off that
Shroud
gave us. Because you could put so many more abilities on a creature with Shroud than you should be putting on a creature with Hexproof. That's my problem with
So
Hexproof.
it's almost like it limits what you can do when you give a creature Hexproof.
It's like, it is feel bad when you can't target your own creatures, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that your creatures would be like, no, don't help me, So I'm at a loss as to what they can do, because the ability Shroud is actually, in my opinion, one of the more fair, justified ways of doing it, but Hexproof is the right way to do it as far as what a player wants.
No, it's true. Morgan, how do you feel about Hexproof versus Shroud? Were you playing at the time when they had Shroud, or?
No, I was not.
Well, how do you feel about? I mean, you know what Shroud does, right?
I
okay. So, like, what? I don't know. How do you feel about the difference between them?
I think Hexproof makes more sense to me, just because it's my creature. I should be able to like equip it with something or
affect it.
Yeah. But Shroud makes sense in the like this creature is a standalone creature. It's good enough on its own. Just play it as it is. Sort of from that standpoint. I prefer having like Hexproof probably just because I like it better. Like for example, you have Earl the Miststalker up, and he's so cool, but he would not be nearly as good if he had Shroud. Mostly because then you couldn't And change
use his
powers.
secondary ability.
I'm not opposed to the hexproof ability either. My problem with it is that they've straight up replaced it with Shroud. And
I think I might agree with that. It would have been better if they had kept both abilities around. Actually,
they had them together for a long time, and Green got the hexproof ability.
Exactly. That's my
and
exact.
Blue got the Shroud
That's
ability.
my exact problem. Hexproof does not sound like a blue ability. It sounds exactly like a green ability. Hexproof to me sounds so green,
Like which
and it does
Stalker?
not sound. Yeah, it does not sound blue. And Shroud seems blue too. It would have been cool if they did limit Hexproof to green and blue gets Shroud.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Hexproof makes more sense in green anyway because green is more about a community, so it should be more open to receiving your help. Blue is more insular, or it should be as a color. It should be like the thinking color, but everyone should be kind of their own individual, where its allies are black and white, so it wants one person at the top controlling everything, and then everyone should be their own person below. But like green is associated with red and white, so it should be all about like the greater good in the community, and so hexproof makes sense in green, Shroud makes sense in blue.
I'm thinking of directly like fantasy movies that we watch growing up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like when the darkness, the black of the fantasy movie is trying to curse or cast hexes, it's like the green spirits that are the ones that are like it's against. You know what I mean? So even in like our own fantasy story history, our archetypes from the past, it even feels more flavorful. Hexproof being in green.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess like an example of a creature where you wouldn't want them to have hexproof is Invisible Stalker for 2 mana. Like, would that card have been? That card would have been good as a Shroud 1/1. Unblockable. It would have been good.
They could have made it.
It would not have been stupid.
They could have made it a Shroud 2/1.
Yeah, and they could have done that, and that would have been fine.
Yeah.
Actually, that would have been very fine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
at hexproof, and now it's like a strategy in itself.
The thing is,
it's not interactive. That was kind of my big problem with Invisible Stalker. I think we even like made some comments. We had some reservations about Invisible Stalker when it was first spoiled because it was like, wait, unblockable hexproof. So it's like you can affect it, and they're never going to be able to target it. I don't like cards that don't let you have any sort of interaction with your opponent. I don't want to play a game where it's like, okay, I'm just going to play with my board, you play with your board, we'll see who wins. I want it to be like I can affect your creatures somehow,
And you're putting it in a color where they can affect everything you do. Mm-hmm. And when they get it out on as early as turn 2, then they can just start sitting back turn 3 and 4.
Stuff, bouncing stuff.
It's like
getting more card advantage.
Thanks for all the fun I'm having.
So and
do you remember probably playing Mana League too?
Yeah,
definitely. And do you remember Stalker in Innistrad Limited? It was obnoxious.
Yes,
you had Butcher's Cleaver, so I was like, let's put Butcher's Cleaver.
Or Spectral Flight.
Spectral Flight. Let's put Silver Inlaid Dagger. Let's put all these equipment that are insane, specifically with Invisible Stalker.
This card has 2 like highly blue abilities. Let's make it cost 1 colorless and a blue, so anybody can splash for it too, or whatever.
And then
it's like,
put a Butcher's Cleaver on there, and suddenly we've got 8 damage life swings.
And
they're
gaining life, so they're preventing 4 life every turn that you're dealing back to them.
They're putting you on a 5-turn clock.
They need this one creature and that one other card that happens to be played the turn after you play this one creature.
And think about it with Silver Inlay Dagger in the turn progression. I remember specifically doing, turn 2 Stalker, turn 3 Dagger, Equip, 4, 4, 4. I killed a guy like that. He was like raging on me so hard. He's like, I can't believe this exists in this limited format.
Why wouldn't you rage on that? That's so stupid.
It was complete lack of interaction on all parts of him.
Yeah.
There was literally, in the colors he was in, there was absolutely nothing he could do. In that limited environment, the only effects I can remember that did anything were like Rolling Timblor
and Tribute Thunder.
And Tribute. There's probably maybe like Liliana the Veil, I guess technically could take care of it too.
Technically.
At Mythic, yeah, but can't rely on seeing that. So it was obnoxious. It was a mistake, I think. I don't like that ability set. Unblockable hexproof, I think they should sort of stray away from now, even though we have a card in our set that does that.
And they didn't even make it Wait, we have an unblockable hexproof?
Yeah, we do. We need to maybe re-examine that guy.
Wait, what is it?
Your mythic guy. He's 3 mana 4/4, and then if he has the
Oh,
binding
it
counters.
takes 3 turns to get there. He's not even hexproof until then.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm not it. Well, I just got done saying that I don't like hexproof unblockable.
On an uncommon,
But
that costs 2 mana, and this one costs 3 mana.
of 3 different colors. Yeah, it's hard to get online. That's true. I guess if you get to that point, then
It's
a mythic.
and then
so.
it takes 3 more turns after that to get the hexproof.
Okay, you convinced me. Let's talk about Commander quick before we start the draft. I want to talk about my new Commander deck, and then we can have Morgan talk about her Commander deck because we haven't gotten a chance to play with her online yet. So
No.
I just created an Extort Commander deck, mostly because Extort in Commander is amazing. Extort in Commander affects all your opponents, and you gain all the life that you're dealing. It's just really cool. And then you get to play.
Pretty.
You get to play all the. So my commander is Teza, and I'm running all of the Extort creatures. Finally getting a chance to do Debt to the Deathless in Commander, which I'm kind of excited about because.
Do you have Exsanguinate?
I quickly built this when we wanted to play yesterday because I was taking too long. So I did. This is like the kind of haphazardly put together version. I just made sure I got all the Extort creatures in there because I did want to see how they play. So I've even got like a couple transmute just because currently I mean all the Extort creatures in existence. There's only like what 10 or something in the full block. So because you only get 2 sets that even have it anyway.
And the second set only had 2.
And let's face it, there's some pretty lackluster ones like Syndicate Enforcer, and there's like one other one that's pretty lackluster too. This Cope is okay.
Syndicate of Tides is pretty
lackluster in Commander specifically, yeah. So sort of my strategy with this, besides just playing spells and extorting, I've got stuff that renews itself. So Core Skyfisher, kind of cool with Extort since you can just infinitely do it.
Itself, yeah.
And then I've got that thing that lets that Forced Worship, same sort of deal. I'm probably going to look for a couple more cards like that to sort of interact with it. I guess Basilica cards is pretty lackluster in Commander as well. Good old Defender 1/4.
Yeah, he doesn't do much.
But Pontiff of Blight I can see being pretty awesome in Commander.
Yeah,
And
oh my goodness.
pretty amazing in Limited too, I'll say. And Treasury Thrall, it might actually be pretty decent.
Cryptghast.
Treasury Thrall might actually have some fun applications. Definitely Cryptghast, I agree.
Treasury Thrall, it reminds me of Sun Titan, except for it's very much worse.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool picture. It's just a big fat thrall. They're like.
I wonder
around
if like return target permanent would have been too good. The only thing you can't get off of it right now is lands and planeswalkers.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I wonder why they didn't do. Oh, because they didn't want them to be able to bring back planeswalkers. I see.
Yeah, but even that doesn't seem that good.
It's a 4/4 for 6 that has to attack before you do
Yeah.
it.
I would have been more comfortable with it at 5/5. I think.
Yeah.
Because you're playing.
for sure.
You're paying multiple colors. I think it would have just made it would have made a little more sense. How
Even
about
4/5.
or a 4/6?
Yeah.
Obsidious Golem. I would have
Having
cool
a
with that.
little extra toughness, but it is extort, so they want to probably have it be able to get rid of it quickly.
Pontiff was.
That
weird,
one's crazy because
it's
so
2/7. It's a
hard
very
to kill.
and its effect is so powerful. So it's
Yeah.
put those together. Difficult to kill plus granting a huge effect with your other creatures. And the weirdest thing about Extort that maybe everyone doesn't realize is Extort stacks.
Woo!
So you've got a Thrall Parasite with Extort. You play a Pontiff. Suddenly Thrall Parasite's got 2 Extorts
Instances.
that you can both act or trigger and resolve and pay for. So that's kind of crazy in my mind. And Commander's fun with Extort in general because they're slower games. It really allows you the time to build up a mana base of like 15 lands and then just start extorting like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you have one Extort creature out, which you typically would in Commander because you're only seeing 7 cards at a time, just one adds up so fast. It really does. Because it's not even like that it's punishing any individual opponent more, but just all that life gain early on can really can start to add up after like 4 or 5 uses.
Mm-hmm.
Think about like a 5-player Commander game where you're gaining 5. You're basically gaining 5 life every time you do an Extort.
Oh, yeah.
That would add up huge. couple that with like multiple instances of it, just gets out of control. I'm gaining 15 life. I'm paying 3 mana.
So we know who to kill first.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying.
it is a targeted thing, but you just have to be careful with it. So you don't want to let people onto what you're doing too early, I guess. Allow yourself time to build up before you start getting obnoxious with it. Like Mentor the Meeks in here, and the only reason is because a lot of the extort creatures,
Are really small.
yeah, aren't that impressive on their own. I'm probably gonna swap that out. I mean, there's a couple lackluster cards in here, but
It actually seems like not very. It seems okay.
and Fate's Reward, I kind of like that just because they're probably gonna want to wipe the board and destroy all my extort creatures. So it would be cool to be able to cast this.
Oh, you have Day of Judgment too.
Yeah.
Alex, you should play Foil Merciless Eviction because that is the prettiest card I've ever seen in my life.
The foil Merciless?
Yeah,
I wish
oh
I
my
had
goodness.
one. I'm sure I could get it for like 10 cents or something.
Yeah.
But other than that, pretty straightforward. I just thought that was kind of cool. Ever since I learned about how crazy Extort is in Commander, I kind of wanted to try some ways to
It's
abuse
also
it.
crazy in Two-Headed Giant.
Oh, I bet, yeah. I bet that adds up real fast. Well, Infect was really sick in Two-Headed Giant. They changed the ruling on that too, though, I think. Originally it was... I thought it was... Yeah. Did they change it? I felt like they did, where it was like you needed 15 to kill him or something.
I don't even.
If it's a 2 HG,
feel like
or,
it,
I
but
feel like
yeah.
they changed it because people were definitely complaining that it was. I'm pretty sure that's. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Though you need like 15 before you can kill him. So Morgan, do you want to talk about your commander deck you have online, real life?
Sure.
Whatever.
Well, okay. So there's a video of me playing Ashling online on the site, and it's a lot of like good stuff red cards. And the general is Ashling the Pilgrim, and she is a 1/1 for 1 and a red, and her ability is for 1 and a red, put a +1/+1 counter on her. And then if that's the third time it resolves, not that it's like activated, but when it resolves, remove all the +1/+1 counters from her, and it deals that much damage to each creature and each player. And so I have a lot of cards that are focused on like big red spells, red activated abilities. I have Braid of Fire in there, and Braid of Fire is really cool because its cumulative upkeep is add 1 red to your mana pool, and it drains from at the moment it drains from your mana pool at the end of your upkeep, but it still is useful for like putting counters on Ashling, activating like fire breathing effects on my dragons, stuff like that. And the trick with Ashling is not playing her until you have enough mana to activate her as well to blow up the board, because otherwise people will just kill her right away. And so it's really fun to kind of like control the board that way. And you put things that you put in like Loxodon Warhammer that give her lifelink, and then suddenly her effect no longer hurts you as much as it hurts everybody else.
Oh, good point. So then you're gaining life from all the different sources that it's dealing damage to.
Yep, and if
That's
you
kinda
give her protection from red, she doesn't kill herself. Or like if you put a Stratascythe on her with mountains, she doesn't kill herself.
Oh, that's kind of cool, yeah. So
Yeah,
if you make her bigger than what she's exploding... Wait,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah.
She'll
I didn't
always
realize that.
hit for 3.
No, not 3. Like
No.
I'll have 6 +1/+1 counters on her, but also Stratascythe that's at like 17. So and then so she won't kill herself. She'll just kill everything around her. And then I have like Ryuse and Balefire Dragon. Ryuse, when it dies, it deals 5 damage. 5 damage to each creature without flying. And Balefire Dragon, when it deals damage
Oh,
to
I remember Balefire for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome. He's amazing. 7-drop, 6/6 dragon with flying. Mythic. When it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. Just total hose card and limited and commander, definitely.
So yeah, and then I have like
It's Inferno on one
Gauntlet
side.
of
Inferno.
Might. Gauntlet of Might
Oh,
I
yeah.
got for $1.
Oh, wow, nice.
And all red creatures gain +1/+1, and all mountains provide an extra red mana when tapped.
That's awesome.
And it's like $100 in real life.
Oh my god.
But
I had no idea.
I got it for $1 online because it was in the Masters, and it's not like Legacy played at all. And so that Gauntlet of Might, Gauntlet of Power, which does the same thing but for 1 mana more, and I think it's only basic lands. And you can choose a color, and then Caged Sun as well. So I've got it's big red basically. It's a lot of fun. And then in real life right now, I have a Mile deck Mile of the Anima. She is Naya General, and she costs 3 mana, red, green, and a white, and she's 2/3. And for a red, green, and a white, and 3 colorless, you can tap her, look at the top 5 cards of your library, and put a creature card with the power of 5 or greater from among them into play. And last night I cast Sylvan Primordial 5 times. And Sylvan Primordial is a 6/8 for 7, and when it enters the battlefield, destroy target for each opponent. Destroy a non-creature permanent, and for each permanent that destroyed that way, get a forest from your library.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely the best Primordial in my opinion, just because it has such
Good applications.
Yeah, it has an effect on the battlefield right away, and so it's my deck is a lot of fun. It's just a lot of big creatures, mostly beasts, because Contested Cliffs is awesome. And Contested Cliffs, for a red and a green, you tap it and have a beast fight a creature that your opponent controls. So like
that's cool.
Fighting is a sub theme. I have like Alpha Brawl in it.
That's a nice land ability though to have.
Yeah,
in Commander.
It's really relevant. It's great recurable removal, and it's really flavorful, which is I really like it.
It's fighting them.
And it's mostly foil. And so
what do you mean mostly foil?
Your
deck is mostly foil?
It's mostly foil. Like there's a couple of things like Lurking Predators.
This is your real life deck, right?
It's my real life deck.
Okay.
And it's like Lurking Predators is in foil. Some other things, but it still looks really cool. So it's my baby. I work at a Magic store, and I spend a lot of money on this deck there.
That's cool though. Yeah, I'll have to play against that. I'll have to. Do you still have a few decks made up, Jake? I'll have to borrow one from you.
Yeah.
I have some too.
I know that. Oh, okay, sweet. I know that Jake had to like disassemble like 30,000 of them because he just had way too. He had like just like 1,000 count boxes just jam packed full of Commander decks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I only have 1,000 count box. No.
Well, we were just talking about this when we were playing Commander yesterday. It was like, do you know why Commander is so sweet online? Because you don't have to like shuffle around all the different cards that you
because buy many more cards.
Well, because there's like staple cards in Commander, which is why they came out with the special Commander set. Soul Ring they brought up into the Commander set because Soul Ring is like, you know, obviously a staple of Commander. You want your 1 mana ramp for 2 spell, so you can get to all your 5 and 6 drops that your deck is jam packed full of earlier. But then they brought stuff like in like Command Tower. You know, obviously, why wouldn't you want to play this if you're in? You know, if you're playing, I guess if you're monocolor, it wouldn't matter. But if you're multicolor,
you want your color, it's very helpful.
Yeah, you want your Command Tower. So they have all these cards. Let's say you only bought one of these Commander packs. You don't want to like make 5 Commander decks, and every time it's like, ugh, I have to shift the cards over to this. I have to make sure I grab the right ones. I don't want to forget anything. Online, it's like it's just so simple. It's like you get to reuse all the same cards. If you are on a whim, you're like, you know, I really want to make this deck. Within like 5 minutes, you've already got your Commander deck. So online is a very good resource for deck making in general, but Commander especially because you know how much of a hassle it can be to shuffle a 100-card deck. You know how much of a hassle it can be to how many times have you accidentally like shuffled your Commander into your Commander deck and you're like, damn it. Oh.
That's why you put a hard sleeve on it.
Oh, or yeah, that's a good point. Or a different colored sleeve or something like that. Okay, before we start the draft, Jake, do you want to talk about your Commander decks? Who you've been...
Oh, I have a bunch. I don't really know.
Thanks, Jake. That's perfect.
It doesn't really matter.
That's a lot of information. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, now, Jake, the latest one you were doing yesterday.
I made a Numat, the Devastator deck, and I made it to work with Sunforger, but I actually built the deck and then realized I didn't even have a Sunforger. So
his colors are weird too. He's red, white, blue, America, and 3, and he's a 6/6 legendary dragon, flying. When he deals combat damage to a player, you can pay 2 and a red if you do destroy up to 2 target lands. Note, the 2 lands that you destroy do not have to be the player that you dealt damage to, so really just can blow up any lands you want.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel? What's like the essence of what that deck does?
Well, it's all instants and sorceries, or instants. It's all instants except for like 9 creatures and a bunch of artifacts for mana. But I didn't, like I said, I did not have the Sunforger, so my deck did not work the way I wanted it to.
Is Sunforger expensive online, or did you just... Okay.
I thought I had one because I played a lot of Ravnica block stuff, and then when I went to make the deck and finally looked for it. I just did not have it. So.
Maybe I'll have to take a look, see if I have any.
Yeah.
But so it's all instance. What's kind of like I saw you did like a Runechanter's Pike, which got big pretty fast, and everybody should remember Runechanter's Pike from recent history when it was in Delver.
Played some draw discard effects. Trying to think of anything.
Is it
else.
Charms? What is
Thought Flare.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like burn? Do you have burn spells and stuff too? Just straight like burn, or is it all like draw card
I have
effects?
Comet Storm. It's not draw. It's not. There's not even a lot of draw because Sunforger only lets you search up red or white instant cards with converted mana cost 4 or less.
Mhm.
So it was like all stuff within that. You know, I had Turn and Burn in there, and I had Wear and Tear, so you can like search either side of those up to.
Word of Seizing. You had that.
Yeah, Word of Seizing, but that doesn't even work with the Sunforger thing that I was trying to go for either.
Because it's
5 mana.
Oh, okay. No. What's the Sunforger, 3 or less or something? Or
4 or less.
Okay.
So you can get like Return to Dust and stuff like that, but
Which I'm sure you're also running.
yeah.
Okay.
But I also don't have like a Stonehewer Giant or a Steel Shaper's Gift, so
I might be able to hook
lacking
you.
a
I
lot
might
of
be able to hook
pieces.
you up with some of that stuff.
But it worked fine yesterday.
Yeah, it did. You beat both me and Ryan.
I just did Runechanter's Pike basically. It was all Runechanter's Pike.
Now, Morgan, did you know they have Plane Chase online?
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? There's some downsides to it. Each person has to spend. Each person you want to play Plane Chase with has to spend. How much was it? It was like $20, $30 maybe.
You have to buy a Plane Chase deck.
Each person that plays has to have a
Wow.
Plane Chase deck, which kind of sucks.
I get the Master Wanderer one.
I mean, I guess it's kind of cool because they offer like 10 different ones,
Yeah.
so you and your buddies could each take a different one and at least see a bunch of different Plane Chase places to go and stuff. And I am kind of curious how they have that cool little dice set up, you know, and how you can like, do they have like how do you do it? You know, is there like a separate little button somewhere that lets you like,
I wonder.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So that would be kind of weird. But
Maybe
yeah,
a card just shows up that has the roll on it or something.
it would be fun to do that because let's be honest, have you even seen a online Plane Chase game?
No.
I haven't. So that'd be something I might be willing to invest in if people are interested in watching it. And the nice thing about Plane Chase is it's like an entire new dynamic to the game. It's something you can always do. So even if it's like, oh, I don't have any cards in my hand, I guess I'll Plane Chase 6 times or something. You know, so it's fun. And some of those planes are really fun. I'm trying to think of. Some are obnoxious, but some are really fun. Some like make it so creatures can't attack anymore, and some make it so your creatures are like 2 times more powerful.
John gives everything Devour.
Yeah, like
It's
Devour
awesome.
5, I think.
Yeah, it's so sick. Except it's only red green, so
Yeah, I guess it's well. Like, what else do the planes do? Maybe people don't even know what Plane Chase is. So Plane Chase is like you get a unique dice, and the unique dice has 2 different icons on it, and then a couple
4 blank sides.
4 blank sides, and then 2 unique icons on it. One of the icons switches planes. So you have these special cards, Plane Chase cards, and when you reveal them, they reveal a plane that you would go to. And once you're on the plane, it's almost like a world enchantment effect. You're getting an effect that affects everybody. Then the other icon on the dice, if you were to roll that, would generate some other ability that's specific on the Plane Chase card. So the Plane Chase card has a specific ability. What's that side of the chaos side of the dice? Okay, so you can do Plane Chase anytime you could cast a sorcery on your turn. The first one's free, and then it costs 1, and then 2, and then 3, and so on. It just keeps getting more expensive. So sometimes, you know, obviously if you're on a plane where your opponent's getting a huge advantage, you want to roll it. But I like that there's some planes where it like punishes you if you were to, like, sometimes it affects if you switch to a plane, it'll be like during your upkeep draw something cards or something. So then it's like, oh, I kind of don't want to leave this plane now.
Yeah.
Because then like the first person that gets the positive ability probably wants to switch out of that plane because they want to be the only ones that get that.
Well, you're usually the first person. Many of the planes that they have an upkeep trigger when you planeswalk to them.
Oh, okay. So when
so
you
they
Plane Chase,
yeah,
I see.
actually fix that loophole about
But
effects that help everybody.
I see. But before there were like some old ones that didn't, or what?
No, I'm pretty sure they had it down right the first time.
Well, what's the loophole? I don't get it. What are you talking about?
Well,
Like Howling Line. You don't get the benefit off Howling Line, so they didn't want that to be the way planes work.
So they're getting rid of that. Are you trying to say they're like trying to get rid of that effect in like general?
No. I'm saying in Plane Chase, they don't do that.
So only in Plane Chase they're trying to get rid of the thing where
In
It's
Plane
only
Chase-
for the planes.
In Plane Chase,
Plane Chase.
on the planes, you get the benefit first if you planeswalk to it.
okay. When you Plane Chase.
Yes.
I see. Great. That's good. We ready to do draft here?
Yeah.
We actually haven't done an RTR block in a little while, and I went 4-0 on a daily yesterday, so
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, I won on a multi-4 in the finals.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, it looks like we can start here right away. You know.
Yay.
Crazy.
All right. So we're gonna try the new strategy here. RTR block kind of fallen out of favor with me only because the Dragon's Mace pack is so it's like crippling how you have to do this format, unfortunately. So like the best card in the pack, you know, the Jellin Sphinx, the Beetle Form Mage, but we might just want the Izzet Guildgate. That's kind of the sad part. Seriously. What I've found is the toughest part about this format, you get the sweet, you get to look at goodies in your Dragon's Maze packs, and then you don't even get to necessarily play them. It's like, oh, I can take this Jellin Sphinx, and then I'm just going to cross my fingers that Azorius is open. Or else it's like, I take Jellin Sphinx, and then Azorius isn't open, but I'm convinced that it might be, and I end up making a total subpar mediocre deck that has a Jellin Sphinx in it. You know what I mean? So that's sort of like been my main complaint recently with this format, is that it's very like in your Dragon's Maze pack, it almost doesn't determine what your deck's going to be at all. It's like you could bypass the Dragon's Maze pack and know better what your deck's going to turn out, you know? So that's sort of been my problem with it. This might actually still be a Jellin Sphinx pick, just because I don't know what taking the Guildgate. I mean, we can try it, but let's just take the Sphinx, and then not necessarily commit to
Somebody else thought taking the Guildgate was a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We can take the Beckon Call here, though, which is actually a very strong card and works remarkably well with Jellin Sphinx. So I'm not opposed to that. There's also Thrashing Moss Dog, Trust Any Summoner, Give and Take. Plenty of good cards in here, actually, that are still on color. So I guess we can take the Beckon Call. I'm okay with that. Yeah, and it's actually, that's a powerful spell.
Yeah.
Call I do like quite a bit, even if you don't make Beck available to you. You know, the musician Beck, if he's not available to you. Okay, you can take a Simic Guildgate here, which actually turns on half of Beck and Call. Could also take the Boros Mastiff.
Top white.
Anything else terribly exciting in here? We've got Ubulsar Gatekeeper, Boros Mastiff, Robobelt Maka, Pilfered Plans, Simic Guildgate, Rod Farm Skeleton. It's Mastiff or Guildgate for me. What do you guys think?
Mastiff.
Alright, just get a bear. Better to have some cheap stuff just in case you're getting raced down. There's actually some really sick aggro decks that you can make work in this format, so I guess I'm not opposed to Mastiff. Let's try that. Now I've got another Mastiff, Azorius Guildgate. We've got Pilfered Plans.
Live the Dream, Bronzebeak Moa.
Bronzebeak Moa, Call. Yeah, that is kind of cool. For me, it's Mastiff or Guildgate. So what do you guys think? Guildgate opens us up for a potential third color in case we're getting cut. Mastiff, I guess, just is always going to be good as a 2-mana.
I'd go with the second Mastiff, just because Azorius Guildgate, you can probably pick them up in Return to Ravnica.
Well, we would hope.
Yeah.
But regardless, I guess I'm just cool with Mastiff because it's a good creature. Works well with Sphinx, too.
And 2-drops are important.
2-drops are very important. I agree. I kind of wish they would organize Beck and Call by the call instead of the Beck. It would help me
Or
look at my convert mana cost a little
just
bit
put
better.
it in the 8-drop slot or something.
Yeah.
So that it's just totally on its own.
But they just do the first spell on the fuse card.
That is a giant lizard. Hey, look!
I think it's a frog.
Alright, ooh, another Jellin Sphinx. That's a good sign for Azorius. So
Windrake, too.
there's
Yeah,
Deputy of Acquittals, which is also good, but we gotta take the Sphinx over. Windrake also very, very...
But Sphinx
Somehow
is way
Windrake
too
is...
good.
Somehow Windrake is like really good in this format. I haven't quite understood. I still don't understand why, since there's so many other.
Because it
I think
takes
it's
2
one.
Gel and Sphinx to kill it.
I think it's 1 blue mana also to
Yeah,
cast.
yeah, that probably is it. Just the fact that it's monocolor, and like I said,
It's
this can
superior
be
to Tower Drake.
this can be an obnoxious format for making what you want to do work.
Yeah.
Just
It's also
because
superior to Vassal
there's
Soul.
so much overlap, and despite all the clue stone and all the other fixing, sometimes you can really end up short on fixing. But if we can make 2-color work, so far we're on a very good
Yeah,
path
I like
to
second Sphinx too.
doing that. Oh, definitely. Okay. So
Deputy.
now we have a deputy, also a
Or-
mastiff. Actually,
No, deputy.
I think we want the deputy just for diversity.
Yeah.
We're definitely in Azorius, and deputy works really well protecting your sphinxes and protecting your creatures and stuff like that. It's also very good alongside random cards like Urbis Protector, where you're getting additional angels. Works really well alongside any enter the battlefield effect.
Can act like a removal spell
Yeah.
against a 2 toughness
Yep,
guy.
flash creature blocks, that evolved Shamble Shark or something. They thought they were going to be cute on you, and you're like, oh, I'll be cute right back. Let's flash this little bad boy in. Runner's Bane is playable. That's out of this next pack here. There's also
This is our first pack, it looks like.
not too much else in here. Death to the Deathless, which sadly I've lost to in Limited. Warzov, Cluestone, Phyto Burst. Nothing too exciting here. We'll take the Runner's Bane, which is playable.
Ooh,
All right, now we've got Hazda Snare Squad.
Possibility Storm, we'll make a combo deck.
There's also Maze Behemoth, Thrashing Moss Dog. This late kind of is indicative to me
Cluestone
that green may be open because Moss Dog is a highly pickable card in my opinion. But we're gonna take the Snare Squad because it's a phenomenal creature. All right, we can take Restore the Peace. I'm not opposed to that.
It's a little shitty that it bounces creatures that blocked.
If
So
we're
it
li-
doesn't work well with Gel and Sphinx.
This
but
is actually our original pack.
Yeah, this is.
So Notion Thief made it around. We're gonna take the Restore the Peace and possibly play it if we're hard up for creatures.
Yeah.
So I've heard all sorts of different strategies about what you're supposed to do. I've heard people are like, just take the guild gates, worry about the cards you play later, see what's passed. I've heard the build towards gate crash strategy where it's like, I'm only going to take colors that are in a gate crash guild, see if that works. If it doesn't, I'll fall back on Return to Ravnica to fill up the rest. Doesn't look like we're doing either of those necessarily. We're not taking guild gates, and we're not taking a gate crash guild. So
I actually prefer the strategy of building towards Return to Ravnica because you're the person next to you that is going to be passing you packs again.
Yeah.
Is also like focusing on not
They'll
your
see.
colors.
Yeah, they'll see that you're taking a Return to Ravnica guild, or they will see that that guild
Guild
isn't
isn't
open.
available.
I totally understand what you guys are saying. I believe the argument against that is
There's no fallback.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you build towards gate crash, let's say it doesn't work out. Well, thank God I've still got another pack to like salvage this mess.
Yep.
We're gonna take Steeple Rock out of this.
That's
But
a
if
very
you
good
build,
plan.
but if you were to just pick Azorius, and let's say we open our Azorius packs and it's like the most atrocious, Azorius cards ever, we might have some problems. Here, I guess we'll just take a Maze Sentinel because it's on color. It
What
is
about
definitely the worst Maze card,
Cluestone?
but
Bluestone, yeah.
okay, we can take Dimir Cluestone maybe if we want to splash for blue. Dimir is out of the next pack.
His plans.
Most likely not doing it, but you never know. We could open something sick in Dimir.
And it'll just get you Gel and Sphinx sooner as well.
Yeah, that's true. As of now,
We have
I'd
3 5-drops.
I'd
Yeah.
much more likely build the. Well, I guess I just like to stick to Azorius, but it doesn't always work out. You don't always get what you want. Rolling Stones knew that a long time ago.
But you might get what you need.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Actually, they assured me that you would get what you need.
No, you just might.
Oh. You just might find
No, yeah.
So-
that you get what you need.
Are you guys
You
ready
might find it, you might not find it.
Are you
but
guys
do
ready
get what you
for me to invest $90 so we can have a bunch of plane chase decks? That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well, if you're investing,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Then yes.
I'm kind of worried. Like I was looking for the option and I couldn't even find it when like creating a game and stuff.
Oh,
so I'm not.
scary.
So I'm not. Yeah, I know. How pissed off would you be?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Control,
riot
riot
control.
okay.
Yeah, why would they sell them online then?
They must be available.
have
I
to-
just
it
don't
has
know.
to
I just
be.
don't know how to set it up. It might
You
be.
should just ask an orc before.
Yeah, before investing
anything.
$100.
Yeah.
I mean, that is expensive. I guess it's probably the same amount they charge in real life for
Yeah.
those things. I actually don't know. Jake, you own Plane Chase. Do you remember? Probably roughly $30.
They're at least 25 a piece, I think.
How many do you own? 2?
I have
Double
all of
riot
them.
control.
I have
I
all
guess
the
we could actually take
planes.
Is It Cluestone here just because it might open us up for a red splash.
Air America.
America. All right, so the next
No,
pack.
that's never panned out.
The next pack, we can be receptive to both Demir and Boros. Now that we have the 2 clue stones, but would much rather just stick to our blue-white and not have to worry about fixing.
Come on, Daring Stranger.
Blue-white flyers is a good strategy. Double gel and Sphinx I'm pretty pleased with. Steeple Rock somehow has been a much better card than I initially gave it credit for. Usually I'm very hesitant about paying 5 mana for 1 toughness, but in this case, there's enough abilities wrapped. And we've seen this, something similar to this. Oh, that's what it was. In Innistrad block, the Silverclaw Griffin, which we played and is okay, is worse in Innistrad block than Steeple Rock is in Return to Ravnica. Yeah. So that's one of those things where you have to play the format to truly understand those little things. Like, if you were to just vacuum look at Steeple Rock, you're like, oh, this card's crap, you know? Why am I going to pay 5? They're just going to play like Electrickery and then I'm toast. But really, it's like, there is that liability, but much more often, the removal they have to play is more expensive than, so you end up getting
most
some good
creatures
value
have
out of
higher
it.
toughness, like in this format. So,
Smite?
Pack 2 here? Yeah, we've got some options. We've got Smite. I'll just name the best cards here. We got Smite, Krakenura, Nav Squad Commandos, Madcap Skills, Battlestrade Spy, Ivy Lane Denizen, Grizzly Spectacle, Simic Charm, Debtor's Pulpit, Shanktail. I guess it's Smite. We could end up with some more token cards.
we have 2 Vigilance guys, too.
And Smite has been pretty good. Yeah, that's a good point. And Haz's Snare Squad's a nice little blocker, too. Good Smite target. Okay. I guess we're going Smite. It's a removal spell, which we're currently very light on, so... what was that?
Works with Deputy.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah. Flash in Smite. We got Sapphire Drake here, which might be the pick. There's also... there's Burning Tree Emissary, Pit Fight, Kingpin's Pet, Verdant Haven, Slaughterhorn, Active Treason. Sadly, yeah, it looks like Sapphire Drake. Not that Sapphire Drake's bad, it's actually very good. It's just, can't really hope to wheel anything out of this pack. Which we might play, yeah. Okay, Blind Obedience, Boros Elite, Nav Squad Commandos, Death Cult Rogue. Yeah, I think the Rogue sort of stick with the evasion plan. I guess we also could do the Sage's Rogue, which is a better blocker.
Smite.
Sage's Rogue works well. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess they both work well with Smite, technically. I mean, Death Cult Rogue's more color intensive, but I really do like the fact that it's evasive. We're probably going to be doing the Blue-White Flyers deck, so I guess I can get behind Death Cult Rogue. But let's color sort, and I guess we are less blue than white, but it's if we're ending up 2-color, it shouldn't be a deal either way. So what do you guys think? Death Cult Rogue versus Sage's Rogue here.
I like Death Cult Rogue because I don't think we're gonna try to mill them out.
All right, let's go with Death Cult Rogue. Edict here looks like it's a pick. What else we got in the pack? Scabpan Charger, Ivy Lane, Denizen, Cling Anemones.
Put pants on your birds.
Ripscale Predator.
Be even better.
Reich, you're surprisingly playable in a pinch.
Good with people around.
We've made it work before, but we're going to take the Edict,
Yeah.
which is a good sign that it's coming around here. All right, now we've got Metropolis Sprite, which I do think is the pick, but we've also got Keymaster Rogue, Firefist Strike, which is an excellent Boros card, Cartel Aristocrat, nothing else.
I don't like the
And
2
another
drop.
right.
I mean, I think we take the Sprite as well, I agree, although we don't have a 4-drop currently, so something to keep in mind. And actually, Keymaster Rogue is good. Keymaster Rogue has proven itself to be good. That's true, and we saw one earlier that we can probably table. Metropolis Sprite is legitimately good, too.
Ooh,
all right, now we've got the Hands of Binding here.
That's perfect.
Other relevant cards to our deck in this pack would be the Prism, once again opening us up for a third, a splash, if we wanted it. But I agree, the Hands of Binding, based on the evasion.
good with this
So
deck.
surprised at how little blue and white is coming around. That really frightens me.
Really? We've got a decent blue pick every time.
I know, but
I
like
haven't
Or
we're
blue
seen
and
getting,
white pick.
we're getting one
packs.
each pack.
Oh, that's true. But the good news is we're already close to a pretty solid looking
Yeah,
deck.
yeah, it's true.
We only need to cut a couple of clue stones, and we don't, like Morgan said, we don't have to cut them. We can still play them in a pinch if we have to. But I'm definitely happy to take Hands of Binding there. All right,
Assault Griffin.
totally lost. No, you're right. The Assault Griffin more relevant. Soul Ransom is a pretty good spell too.
Mm-hmm.
An actual mind control effect in this format. But the Assault Griffin just definitely is on plan with what we're doing. We want to evade in. I mean, technically, I'd like to cut the Restore the Peace as well, but I can see playing in a pinch. We can take the Armored Transport out of this pack. The reason being, it always gets to attack in, and it actually works really well with the Boros Mastiffs, giving us a little bit of lifelink. It works well with the Sphinxes as well. So we'll take an armored transport. I'm okay with that. All right, we got a Debtor's Pulpit. We got a Nav Squad Commandos. Debtor's Pulpit.
5-drops.
Debtor's Pulpit is cool. Nav Squad's cool too. Nav Squad's a better blocker on the ground.
Debtor's Pulpit is technically a 6-drop. So.
True. You know, I'm really not opposed to the Debtor's Pulpit. For some reason, I've had like really good success with this card, and I actually really like it in the type of strategy we're doing, where we don't have a lot of blockers on the ground, and we constantly can keep their biggest guy in check. I think I'm actually more leaning towards the Debtor's Pulpit.
It keeps flyers down if they happen to.
Yeah, it gets rid of blockers.
Hover barrier. Take the riot
Shielded
gear.
Passage, Active Treason, Riot Gear. Yeah, I guess I agree
I don't
with
see
that.
us getting into battle too much. Shielded Passage.
All right, we got a Nav Squad Commandos anyway.
Skyblinders.
Skyblinder Staff's cool, but we're gonna take Nav Squad.
But Skyblinder stuff works so well with flying creatures.
Well, my thing is, we definitely wouldn't main deck Skyblinder Staff, and there is actually a chance that we main deck the Nav Squad.
That's fine.
I agree that we have a lot of 5-drops, but we're tad bit short on creatures. And actually, like, Nav Squad's a good creature. I've come to love him in all my time playing these. He's one of those. He's one of those deceptively good creatures. So why don't we cut the Clue Stones for now? Just sort of see where what the deck I'd like to play.
Murder Investigation.
So cutting all of the off colors, lackluster spells. We look like we're hovering at about 19, which isn't bad considering
creatures.
we're about to enter our final pack, which should be
We need
Skymark
3 drops and 4.
ours already. So yeah, Skymark Croc's pretty much the best you can open. All right, we got some good options here. We open Seam Vince as a rare, but we have New Prop Guildmage, we have Syncopate, Stealer of Secrets, Knightly Valor. That's just the on-color stuff. There's Stab Wound in here, which is ridiculous.
I think I like Guildmage the most.
I guess we take Guildmage. What are our non-flyers? We have Mastiff, Snare Squad, Nav Squad. All right, there's enough. And actually, he gets his own ability.
Yeah.
The Detain can be relevant when you're getting flooded. New Prop's pretty good. Hope to Will the Syncopate, since it's actually proven itself to be pretty good in this format as well.
I want Liev.
Who doesn't want Liev Sky Knight? Liev Sky Knight, Skymark Rock. That would really put this deck in a good place. Currently, removal we're looking at Smite, Hands Binding, Runner's Bane, Angelic Edict, all of which are good. All right, we got Dramatic Rescue here, Avenging Arrow, and those are the only 2 on-color stuff. The rare is remaining, it's Death's Presence. Nivix Guildmage is much better in full block than it was in Return to Ravnica, since the removal has gotten much cheaper in Gatecrash. Golgari Decoy, also very good. Courser's Accord, excellent finisher. Avenging Arrow and Gatecreeper Vine are both good. We're going to take the Rescue since it's amazing. Okay, now we have
Search the City.
Concordia Pegasus. The rare is still remaining. Search the City. There's Augur Spree, Thought Flare in here. Crosstown Courier, Swift Justice, Axebane, Rakdos Guildgate. Tons of good cards. I think we take the Pegasus because it's a 2-drop. We're a little bit short on creatures. It's good with the Smite. Gets in. It's not amazing, but I don't know what else we're taking. Swift Justice is actually pretty acceptable too. I could get behind that. I mean, that's really up to you guys. Swift Justice or Pegasus.
I kind of like Justice more, but I can see the argument for either.
We have plenty of 2-drop creatures.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take the Justice then. Blue-white typically doesn't get the best removal. I can get behind that. Ooh, Detention Sphere. That's kind of hot.
Speaking of
All right,
best removal.
so Cellar is also in the pack.
Inspiration.
Armory Guard, Inspiration, all of those I would also happily pick. Even Sundering Growth, which we'll probably wheel, is a good sideboard, but happily taking that Detention Sphere.
Yeah.
Little Oblivion Ring effect, a little better than
Kind of surprised that it's there.
the Token Killer.
Yeah, so that guy who's playing
Courser's Accord,
Yeah.
2 of them.
Courser's Accord.
Please do, double up on them.
populate. Before you guys attack, let me Detention Sphere.
So that's cool. All right, now I've got Armory Guard.
Skymark.
That's a late Augur Spree. Actually, I like Skyline Predator quite a bit, so I'll happily take him here.
Yeah.
Aerial Predation is going to be good against us.
For
Gutter Snipe and Augur Spree, like I said, remaining. Someone's going to be really happy with that second Augur Spree, but we're pretty happy taking the Skyline Predator. All right, currently at 24 spells. What's the first cut? Perhaps the Armored Transport, just because it's a little bit underwhelming. Could also be the Nav Squad, because like you guys said, we're a little bit.
We do have tons of 5 drops.
We're a little bit 5-drop heavy.
We have 2 that have 5 toughness already. Plus we have 6 drops that have 4 toughness.
I guess I can get behind that. Phantom General and Action Injunction. Do we have any tokens currently?
No.
No.
This thing. It actually does kind of work well with Call. It's also a 2/3 creature. But Inaction Injunction is a little cantrip, buys you a little time. The reason I really like Injunction in this kind of list is the whole point of a deck like this is to set up early an evasive force of a couple creatures, and this really lets you just like sort of detain them, and basically block them up for a turn that grants you the turns you need to get
It's
enough
the
damage to
tempo,
finish
yeah.
them off. Yeah, I do actually like the Phantom General because of the Call, but I see the argument there.
Very
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we're just taking the Blockade, which is actually a highly playable card.
And
Teleportal's cool.
Teleportal, great finisher. I've lost and won with it many a time. Really amazing spell. Most embarrassing loss to it was he didn't even overload it. It was like, oh, okay, just run into it. Unblockable, you die? Alright. Security Blockade it is.
That can
That-
definitely replace the transport.
Alright, this
Hellhole
we're
Flailer.
gonna hate the Hellhole Flailer out of this next pack here.
This is what I'm talking
See,
about. These
yeah.
packs are like totally stripped of white and blue.
It's okay, we ended up with a great deck.
No, I'm just surprised that there was enough to feed more people
Yeah, you're
a
right.
white and blue strategy.
No, that's a valid
And
point.
what is this?
We did table the Syncopate. Alright, I
So
think
maybe
I'd rather
that's
do...
just
Well, actually, that's a good... We
possible.
only have... I guess we have 15 creatures if you count the Call, which I do, as a creature. We could be... I think we can afford to
And
be a...
security blockade.
Oh, okay. We can afford to be a little bit creature lighter in here. Only because Stealer doesn't evade on its own. I'd rather play the
Yeah,
Syncopate.
I'd take out
'cause-
the armored transport
'cause-
now too.
Okay, because Syncopate's actually... pretty
Course
playable.
Accord is worse.
Course of the Chord's the best card remaining in here.
Okay.
It's better than the Death's
Okay.
Presence. Death's Presence doesn't win you the game on its own, whereas Course of the Chord does.
Downsize?
Trickery is decent against our Call, and is it good against us beyond that? I guess not, so I guess you're right, we can take Downsize. I guess we're not playing it, though. We're not likely to sideboard it. I think I'm just going to take the Trickery, because I've had times where
Where's our
that's been
Sundering
obnoxious against us. Sundering Growth, very good.
Search
Vision
warrant.
skin. No.
Aw.
But we get to gain life.
Yay.
And see their hands.
And
Wow.
You know exactly what's killing you.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Oh.
the good news of the deck,
Can't answer that.
despite my constant complaints in the beginning of this draft, we actually ended up with a good deck. I'm pretty pleased with what we ended up with. So let's put all of our extremely relevant spells in first. Which we have quite a few. Still a lot of 5-drops, but that's okay. This is 24. Well, probably want Runner's Bane too. Okay, so we'll organize it. We're going to separate our creatures and removal the way I like to do it. There's this. There's that guy. This thing. That.
Well, I think
We could cut an in-game spell. I guess we could cut the
Yeah,
pulpit.
I think I'd cut that.
We could cut the pulpit or we could cut the Runner's Bane. Runner's Bane can sometimes be underwhelming. Here's what I think we'll do. I think we'll do what you said. We're going to cut the Debtor's Pulpit main deck. What I like is if Runner's Bane sucks against your opponent, let's say they're the Savage Surge Giant Growth deck, you just get rid of it and we'll
Yeah.
bring in the Debtor's Pulpit at that point. We'll up the curve a little bit, but at least it'll give us like an option that effectively, and sometimes Runner's Bane can be very good. Let's say they're a high removal deck and they're hoping to,
Well, against Boros,
Yeah.
it takes half of a Martial Glory, and it's like the half that you want to use on attack.
Good point.
Yeah.
So they won't even at least get that
Yeah.
additional damage in. Okay, so I can get behind this list. This looks pretty good. Like I said, it looks like it's 13 creatures, but it's really 15 because we have the Beck and Call and the Security Blockade. So this looks like a pretty solid list. Don't often get to play Azorius, I don't think.
Yeah.
We haven't played Azorius in a while.
Are we only doing 16 then?
And oh, I
'Cause
forgot.
you have-
What did I forget to cut? I thought we were at 20.
No, you put in the Runner's Bane as well.
No, yeah, well,
So
we
you went up
left
to
it in.
25.
Okay. Oh, I was at 25. I see. Okay. Well, I guess maybe we cut the runner, or maybe the Injunction or the Runner's Bane.
I feel like Runner's Bane is the easier one to cut, because Injunction takes care of everything for a turn, and we're totally tempo.
Here's the thing: Runner's Bane is like a better card against decks that don't have pump spells, and Injunction's a better all-around card. So it's like, do we want? I guess for that reason, Runner's Bane will be a better sideboard option because it's better against specific decks. Okay.
Yeah, against anyone who's playing white, blue, black, Runner's Bane is really good.
Looks like we're
Even more of-
slightly more white than blue, but we do need the double blue. Do we need double white? We actually do not. So I think I'm actually going to err on the side of blue.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
There's another forest.
Ammonious forest. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, for back.
Oh, that's 18.
Yep,
Yep, this is
that's
right.
good.
Okay. So this is the list we're going to play. If you want to watch these, the drafts for this, the games for this, go to SeemsGoodMagic.com. I'll have it posted by the time you watch this podcast. The games will be posted. So if you want to contact me, Mortarpod at SeemsGoodMagic.com. Follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. Still live streaming Tuesdays, Thursdays. We've been doing Innistrad blocks with a moderate degree of success, I should add. We actually have, they only offer 4-3-2-2 Innistrad block drafts currently, but Jake and I have pretty consistently, we haven't actually lost a round one
Yeah.
yet. So I'll tell you one thing, it's motivating me to keep doing it. If it's that cheap to do an Innistrad block, and we opened
fun.
like a foil Hell Rider, which helped pay for
Nice.
some future ones. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Innistrad block was so fun. We did a mono red Innistrad. I'll have to show you the list in between rounds or something. But
Man, I miss playing single colors.
But Morgan, I appreciate you coming on the podcast again.
Yeah,
We were in
no problem.
dire need of a guest. We needed some more input here besides our two heads thinking on this. So I appreciate you coming
No
in and
problem.
chatting with us again. All right. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, and see you guys soon.
Later.